Mice in the hallway. Thank you, Oscar. Good evening and welcome to the March 7th meeting of the Litchfield School Board. I'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's see, have there been any revisions to the agenda?
There have not.
Okay. I'll read the summary of non-public actions from February 16th, 2022. Mrs. Harrison made a motion to...
Before she's, can I see that for a second? I'm sorry.
Read those?
We need to make one
Oh.
quick just deletion on it.
There you go.
Okay.
So you should read it without the green line.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Summary of non-public actions from February 16th, 2022. Mrs. Harrison made a motion to approve the non-public minutes for February 2nd, 2022. Mr. Burke seconded. The motion carried 5-0. Mrs. Harrison made a motion to accept the nomination of Ann Paquin as LMS special education teacher at a salary of $40,997 prorated for the 2021-22 school year. Mr. Burke seconded. The motion carried 5-0. Mrs. Hirschberger made a motion to accept the nomination of Michael Harding as temporary LMS physical education teacher at a salary of $40,997 prorated for the 2021-22 school year. Mrs. Ames seconded. The motion carried 5-0. Mr. Burke made a motion to accept the resignation of William Pothier, part-time science teacher at CHS, effective June 30th, 2022. Mrs. McDonald seconded. The motion carried 5-0. Mr. Burke made a motion to accept the resignation, retirement of William Lonergan, CHS principal, effective June 30th, 2022. Mrs. Harrison seconded. The motion carried 5-0. Mrs. Hirschberger made a motion to approve the settlement offer to the LEA grievance as presented. Mrs. Ames seconded. The motion carried 3-0. Next, we have a presentation from our GMS chorus.
Yes. So just before I hand it off, I do want, for the hundreds of people who tune in, I figured I'd capture that audience as well. But this week is Read Across America Week. And so in addition to the various activities we also have themes for each day. So today was Crazy Hat Day. Tomorrow is If I Ran the Zoo, What Animal Would I Be? So dress like it and you will see. Wednesday, of course, is Wacky Wednesday. So put on your silliest clothes on display. Thursday is I Have Something to Share and Something to Say. Look what I'm wearing. Read my shirt today. And Friday is I'm not going to get up today unless I wear my pajamas all day. So that is the theme for this week. It'll be a fun week and a great way to come back from February vacation.
That's great.
There's more in my report that you can read, but if you have something talented and adorable to turn it over to, I'm going to take that advice. And so I'm going to hand my presentation over to our new music teacher this year, Miss Courtney Magoon, who has brought with her talented students Charlie Montmany, Ashton Ireland, Keegan Millett, Josie Robinson, Aubrey Hanna, Audrey Tippin, Abby Sun, and Kylie Patton, who will take over the show from here.
I was really hoping you let me do the names so I could kill some time, but you already stole that from me, so now I have to talk more. Hi, good evening, guys. My name is Courtney Magoon. I am, as Dan said, the new music teacher at GMS this year, as well as the choral director. And tonight I've brought with me 8 of our GMS students. Our choir this year has been growing exponentially by the week, actually. As you guys know, we haven't been able to have a choral program just as a state, really, for the past year and a half. So we're really, really excited to get this back into the schools. And I know it's really an integral part of the students' week as well. For our winter concert, we had around 55 performers. And so far for our spring concert, we're looking at 76. So we've had around 20 kids join just from our December concert into March. And we've got some really, really exciting stuff going. We have we have a group of 4th graders who have actually been nominated and accepted to the elementary honors choir. So they'll be performing along with several other students from the state of New Hampshire in an honors choir in April at the Grapponi Center in Concord, which we're super, super excited about, and kind of just thrilled to have them there. with me, as Mr. Mitchell said, we have some fourth graders. So our fourth graders are this section and then right on the end. And we have some third graders as well because our choir is made up of third grade and fourth graders, as well as almost an equal amount of male and female singers, which is really, really exciting because if you've noticed, the kind of trend with music is as they get to middle school and high school, for boys, it doesn't seem as cool anymore to be a part of music. So we're trying to kind of like hold on to them as much as we can. So I've actually bribed Charlie and Keegan both to be here today. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But we're really looking forward to building our program at GMS so that we can see those numbers growing at the LMS and at the CHS levels, because if you're not aware, those numbers are a little smaller than we would like them to be. So even if 30 of our kids went to LMS next year, that would almost double their program. And then if we can kind of see that continuing throughout the schools, that's really kind of what our goal is. So we're thrilled to be here for you. I know Mr. Mitchell noticed that it's Read Across America Month. It's also Music in Our Schools Month, which is March. So we're going to perform one piece for you. We're actually going to perform a piece that we did at our winter concert. This piece is called Give Us Hope by composer Jim Papoulis. We will have two soloists, Audrey Tippin and Aubrey Hanna, for this piece. And they're going to sing it a cappella for you, which they have never done before. So we just didn't feel like dealing with all the plugins and stuff like that. So we're gonna go for it. So we hope you guys enjoy. Do listen. 1, 2, here we go.
Listen to the sound of my voice. Can you feel the beat of my heart? Listen to the questions I have. Listen to me. It's all very simple to see what we need. Give us hope. My voice is calling. Can you see? Look in my eyes. Can you feel? My hand is reaching. Give us hope and we'll show you the way. Listen to the sound of my voice. Can you feel the beat of my heart? Listen to the questions I have. Listen to me. We are the future. Help us believe. Give us hope. My voice is calling. Can you see? Look in my eyes. Can you feel? My hand is reaching. Give us hope and we'll show you the way. Take my hand, now look in my eyes. Tell me what you see.
2, 3, 4.
Give us hope. My voice is calling. Can you see? Look in my eyes. Can you feel? My hand is reaching. Give us hope and we'll show you the way.
Keep changing. Here we go.
Give us hope. My voice is calling. Can you see? Look in my eyes. Can you feel? My hand is reaching. Give us hope and we'll show you the way.
Show you the way.
My voice is calling.
Hey, show you the way.
Show you the way.
So if you'd like to see more of this, we'd like to formally invite you all to our District Arts Festival, which will be on March 15th at 6:30 in the CHS Gymnasium. You can see all three of our choirs showcasing kind of what they have to offer, as well as a joint piece between all three choirs. We also have the bands from LMS and CHS performing on the 17th. So we'd love to see you guys there if you'd like to hear more of what you heard today, just in a larger fashion. But thank you guys so much for having us out for you. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For coming. That was amazing.
Oh my gosh.
That is not a centerpiece.
Yeah.
Is that?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I cried a little.
Yeah, I have a.
Practice
It's
before
like a
school.
medical condition that
Yeah.
I tear up when kids sing.
Let's
like
check
Emily
with Dan,
West.
because I'm not
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
sure when that is. Are they practicing before school?
Are you guys gonna
They
say?
do after school.
That probably is
That might be
better.
why.
Yeah, maybe
higher
that's a-
attendance.
Yep. I
Yeah,
think
it
it's
was
more
amazing.
when my kids, parents, and kids. Yeah, I can't believe they have 77 kids in that choir. It's amazing, and that's just 3rd and 4th grade.
That's awesome.
That's great. Thanks, JD. All right, that will bring us to community input. I believe we have some young ladies from CHS.
We do.
No, but I remember
Could
it
if
wasn't
you
so long
wanted
ago when
to.
you guys were
I
that
think
size.
you all did at one point.
That ship sailed.
You gonna watch
Oh,
that now?
we
Lock
want Mr.
Dan
Mitchell out.
Is that the principal?
That's the principal at JMS. Yeah.
That's the new principal? I didn't know that. And the middle school were a new principal. This past year, I think.
All right, so I guess we'll introduce ourselves. I'm a senior and my name is Kylie.
I'm also a senior. My name is Catherine.
I'm Faith.
So we're here to start the conversation about kids having the option to announce their future plans at graduation. A couple of things we want to clarify is that we would want it to be optional, and we would want to get rid of the term workforce and sort of narrow it down to the specific career or trade. We do have a petition that 90 students out of our senior class signed, and we also have statements from kids going into trades, going to college, and the military.
So we went through the process of having this discussion with Mr. Lonergan and having this discussion with Dr. Jetty. And so now we are coming to you all to bring this forward. We feel that it is just a great way to represent these past 4 years and to recognize what Campbell High School and what all of our years of learning has brought us to do.
We want to hear where our peers are ending up. We've worked really hard throughout the 4 years, and we want to give them a chance to celebrate where we're all going. And we feel that it's said that students are the number one priority, but it hasn't felt like that in a long time. And this is an example of it. We're a small school with less than 100 kids in our class, and Campbell has never been a traditional school. It would be a wasted opportunity, we feel, if we're told that future plans aren't being read as we walk across the stage. And it would be a blatant disregard for our class's wishes. As you can see by our petition, I thought graduation is about the school, it's about the students, and we clearly want this. So we would really appreciate it if you guys took some time to talk about it, think about what you guys feel. And thank you for giving us a chance to speak today.
Can we have those?
Yeah. Side is the signatures, and that's it.
All right.
And
Thank
I
you.
do have digital copies of statements that I can share with everyone.
That would be great. Could you email them to schoolboard@litchfieldsd.org?
Yep.
That would
We
be
can
great.
do
That way
the
everybody can have a
names,
copy.
though, right?
Yeah, we can't do signatures just because.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'll have the hard
I know I'm not
copies.
supposed to ask a question, but how many kids are in your class?
92.
Yeah, we got 90 out of 92 signatures.
Wow.
Did anyone else have any other questions or comments? Because we can keep talking about it.
No.
So
No, I'm
instead
just
of
kidding.
workforce, it would say the career path that they've chosen.
Yeah.
Or which specific trade.
So
Yeah.
if people who are in CTE programs right now are going into welding, it would be their name and welding if they so choose.
Yeah, so it's kind of up to that student how they feel fit. And they're welcome to not put anything at all. They're welcome to put career bound if they don't know what trade they're going into, just so it's more personalized, because these past 4 years, every single student has taken their own individual path. And we really appreciate everything that the school has done for us. And I think it's really important to recognize what the school has done for us and how that's affected all of our decisions and where it's going to take us for moving forward.
Well, thank you.
Thank you,
And I
guys.
appreciate that you've gone through the process before bringing it to the board. So we'll look these over and assume get some
So
more.
we have 90 of 92 signatures from students. No, I'm talking out loud.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to make,
Thank you.
I'd like to make a
Thank you.
motion. I'd like to make a motion that
No.
the CHS graduates, and you said it would be optional. That it can be, it'll be optional for them to be recognized at either the institution they're going to, the workforce they're going to, or if they're not going to do anything. I think they have earned that right.
I'll second it. I do have a question. I do have a comment though. We never voted for this.
No.
We never voted for this.
didn't. When
the
it came-
board was never involved in this decision.
Right.
But they used to do it. I'm just talking to Tara. They
Right.
used to do it.
Who?
No, but I believe it was 2 years ago. This came before the board, and we decided it was an administration decision, and
Right.
that we deferred to the admins.
Right.
Just to clarify, that was the history.
So am I assuming from? I'm,
We're not listening.
I guess the assumption's there, but if you're here and you've gone through the principal and you've gone to the superintendent, has the answer been no thus far, and that's why it's here?
So I answered the question that it was the principal's decision. There's a graduation committee at the high school. The graduation committee is the caretaker of traditions, and that it's ultimately the principal's responsibility to plan and organize that. I said to the students, you're welcome to bring that forward, but I also gave you a lot of questions back, didn't I, about the nature of ceremonies and the way we conduct ceremonies in society. And that I said, you're obviously welcome to come and speak to the board about it. But ultimately, my feeling is, and previous boards have ruled, that it is a matter for the high school to determine. And so that's my stance on it. I'd be happy to come back with a more elaborate report that details practices at Campbell, practices in our region, get into some of the thinking just about what ceremonies are and what it is that they're intended to do, because I think it is a deeper dialogue. But
But when do the kids, 90 out of 92 students, want their names read? No offense, Mr. Lonigan. I don't, why can't we do it?
their names are being read.
Oh, they're where their future brings them.
Yeah, I think that's the information that we're presented with,
Mhm.
and we need to think about what that says. But are we going to start running the high school by petition? Would be a question I would just ask you back, because I think there's a lot of things that we could get petitions on that maybe outside of the realm of decision making, and so I just want us to think our way through that.
No, I don't think it's a matter of running the school on petition, because I'm definitely not for that. But you mentioned tradition, and this has always been a tradition up to like 2 years ago when one parent was boisterous about it. Again, are we going to run the district?
And
To
I
know.
think that's where coming in, because that's really not been. That tradition started sometime 2 principals ago. And so it had not been the original tradition. It doesn't date back to the origin.
Maybe not from day, it's been some years now.
It is something that was brought in, and then, based on experiences with it, it was determined that it perhaps wasn't the best practice. And so
Why?
practice was stopped. So I really wish you would let me come back with a more elaborate response to all this, because
I'm just curious why they're saying no.
I don't have it, but I
Okay.
will tell you. So let me put on my old principal hat for a second.
Yes,
Um,
Principal Jetty.
you might be surprised to hear that some students succumb to peer pressure. And so when you are sitting there and you're announcing where people are going, there are students who have felt peer pressure in the past to put something down that was not accurate to what their plans were. And so it became embellished statements made at graduation about where they were going, because I have to be good enough in that, when the purpose of a ceremony is to confer a diploma. Everybody's getting the same diploma. And I would agree that we could be announcing differentiation within those diplomas. Like, I'm getting a diploma of distinction. I
You
earned
do.
that. Right.
You do
That's
that.
an appropriate
There were
distinction.
8
to make.
last year.
But I think you really get into some weird territory where students are feeling pressure to have something read or said at the ceremony in order to keep up with the Joneses. And I think that's the piece that we have to work our way through, and just know, why are we doing this and what is the purpose of it? And at what point, if we know something isn't accurate, do we say, well, we can't read that because we know that that's not true or that's not accurate? If somebody's written it down on the card, it gets read and announced.
So you're saying you don't trust the students?
I'm saying in the past, students at Campbell have felt pressure to do or say something that was not accurate. And that's a fact.
But I don't know if it was ever given to them to be optional.
That's probably accurate, but I still think we want to work our way through the purpose of the ceremony and what it is that we want to say or do there.
I feel like perceptions are changing too. And I hope that, every student feels like, this is their path that they're choosing, through high school, we're trying to help them find that area. And, whatever your path is, embrace it. That you should be proud of that.
And to piggyback on what Tara was saying, I was hoping for a chance to look through these statements and really kind of dive into what your peers have said. We have a motion and a second, so we'll have to vote on this. I plan to abstain because I see both sides of it just as passionately. As a parent of a senior, I don't feel like.
I think you should weigh in, Tina. I don't think you should abstain.
Can I finish, please?
Yeah.
I have to be very honest with you. I don't want to weigh in on this because my daughter is a senior this year, and it could be construed as I'm doing what she wants me to do, and it benefits her. So I will abstain in the vote because I see both sides, and in the past we've deferred to admin. So, and I haven't had a chance to go through materials.
Are they just names or is there written
No,
stuff?
she said there's written statements in here
Oh.
from kids going into the trades, and I was hoping to have.
Is
some-
there- is there a
14
reason-
statements, right?
We can't vote on this next week? I'm honestly asking because
It's going to be a new board and we'll have to start all
is
over again.
that what's
I
happening?
don't know.
Okay.
Well, the graduation is on June 12th. So, is that the right date? I think it
10th.
is. 10th. Sorry.
Something like that.
Don't make them
show
wait
up on
anymore.
Sunday. June 10th, sorry. And so there certainly is time. And I really think an opportunity to hear from your high school administration, your high school graduation committee, and frankly,
Are any of you
wanna-
members of the high school graduation committee?
Students aren't involved in that. It's just, yeah.
We have not been invited until they have a meeting tomorrow, and then the next month's meeting, supposedly we're supposed to be invited, but that date seems to keep being pushed back.
Is that typical? Is that how it usually goes? I mean, I don't think that they're purposefully
Yeah.
leaving you out of the committee, but I think it's just early in the year. You guys,
Yeah.
you can have your ducks in a row. You're well organized.
we just set the date.
Yeah.
I mean, not that they couldn't be organizing around whatever the ceremony is.
Right.
So if you want time to go through the statements and read through them and then
Mhm.
bring it back, I don't have a problem taking
You
my
won't be
motion
here.
back. I won't be, but you will be.
I will be here and Heidi will be here and Tara and
Yeah.
Tina might.
So I'll take my motion back.
Okay.
It'll give you the opportunity to look over the statements. The rest of the board can see the statements. Unfortunately, the new board members won't see them, so you'll have to wait until the following meeting.
Well, they'll be in the agenda packet. Right?
Exactly. We'll make sure that everybody has an opportunity to review them in advance. And
Okay.
I would assume anybody who is hoping to be elected tomorrow would be
You're welcome
watching
to.
and is aware of.
So will that be on the agenda for the next meeting then?
I'll place it on the agenda as a report from the high school admin,
Okay.
and I'll have my thoughts put together in writing,
And we'll make sure this is circulated.
and that will be
for then,
part of it
okay?
also. Yep.
And I would suggest that you young ladies come back at that meeting
Okay. Do you know
because
what that date may be? I don't
March
know.
16th.
March 16th. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But those, are we going to send it to the new member then?
Yeah.
Before
That'll
then?
be in the agenda packet for next week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate you guys coming out.
Tara, you gotta take back a second.
I'll take back my second. I'll withdraw my second.
Do you want us to scan these electronically, or do you want to
Oh, do you
pass
want-
it around?
Yeah, I can send it like right now.
Okay.
Still
Thank you, Kylie.
All right, so we'll leave.
Still.
Kylie, can you make sure you copy me on that, please, honey? Thank you.
I'll probably still abstain, just so that. All right.
I will never tell you how to vote.
Well, anything else on community input? There doesn't seem to be anybody in the public comments, so.
That's just me. Let me hit the button. Yep, there's nobody else
All
there.
right, thank you. With that, we'll close community input. We've now ended the public comment for session one, and the board will conduct its business in view of the public. No further comments can be made by the public during the meeting, but there is a second public comment session scheduled prior to the end of the meeting. Mr. Burke, do we have any correspondence?
Actually, we do not.
It's been a quiet week. Thank you. So that brings us to superintendent comments.
So actually, this is Brian's last meeting, so I thought we should take a few minutes to recognize the
roast him?
The roast will be coming. Trust me, we've worked that in here. Brian, you're gonna get this fabulous backpack also. You want to join me here?
Yeah. You want me to say some words first, or did you have things to say?
I will have a couple of things to say.
All right.
I don't know what we do, stand around and
I don't know.
Yes, and we take a picture.
We're all gonna hover.
Go in the open area.
why don't we go out to
All
the
right.
center there?
What's that?
We can use the police back.
Yeah.
Cover her over your shoulder.
All right, so Brian, we've got for you this very nice New Hampshire granite paperweight, I guess.
Yeah.
So Brian Burke, in grateful appreciation for your service to the children of Litchfield from 2013 to 2022. So 9 years on the Litchfield School Board is a good long tenure. So we're going to present you with that.
Thank you very much.
And we also, we were trying to figure out what a good theme was for the event tonight. And so this is part of our theme, a little gift for you.
Would you like me to open this?
We would like you to open it. Yeah. This is when the roasting will begin.
Okay. Fantastic.
Hold it up now. Hold it up.
So you have to share with everyone.
Well, it's not signed by this little no, that would be ideal.
That would make your day,
Music in the recording.
A golden recorder.
Brian, since we're not going to play it,
We got you.
9 years of hot cross buns.
Yes, indeed.
Every
In different
languages.
Brian, put that in front of you.
And at some point, Brian, when
That
that,
in front of you. No,
when
the,
that
yeah.
opens, you should be playing hot cross buns for us. Because you have the music
That's
now.
right. That's
thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, thank you.
That's
It's
fabulous.
been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Candy apples.
All right, so should I piggyback
I
off
didn't
of
even know
this?
those things existed. None of
They're
us.
for Easter.
Piggyback?
What see you in Easter?
Yeah,
I would like it if she read that.
No, don't cry,
I
Mom.
love that you guys went with the recorder. That's fantastic.
You're going to
fantastic.
be missed, bro.
Yeah,
We've
if
come
you
a
don't
long
mind,
way.
Tara, I just wanted to say,
Yeah.
Brian has kind of been my mentor my entire tenure on this board, and I've never known a board without Brian Burke.
That's true.
And while we didn't always disagree, we didn't always agree. You've always been there, been supportive, and given me advice, and been very helpful. And I've considered you a mentor the last 6 years that I've been on the board.
Thank
So
you.
I thank you for that. You really served our children and our students and our schools beautifully.
And I think that's what all board members have to remember. We're not always going to agree. It's just the way it is. I mean, and that's the whole, I think that makes this board and other boards I've been on successful, because you're able to have banter and have different points of views and then come to a conclusion together and then stand by that decision.
Mhm.
So
And we've always been able to do that. So, Tara?
So, Brian, I wanted to look for the perfect quote for you. So we have the one I found I think fits you perfectly. It's called "The Man in the Arena" by Theodore Roosevelt. So Liz wants me to read it, so I'm
I do.
going to. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there's no effort without error or shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumphs of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. So I feel like that, to some extent, is really, sorry, characterizes you.
Moment.
So,
Thank you, Tara. Thank you, everyone.
Oh,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
That was perfectly picked. Perfectly picked.
It is. Excellent.
But you're not gone yet, so we still have business to do.
Still what?
We still have business to
Yeah,
do.
go home.
Madam
Can't go
Chair,
home
do you
yet.
mind if I,
Oh, not at
Say
all.
something.
Go ahead.
Brian, I've known you for 9 years. I've had the pleasure of working with you for 9 years. I've been here a long time.
Yeah.
Been through many boards. I'm very happy for your future plans, but I'm kind of sad because I'm going to miss you. And I've respected you the whole time you've been on the board and then some. And I want to thank you not only, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to lose it here. I want to thank you not only for your steadfast service and your dedication to the board, but I also want to thank you for your leadership and everything you've done for the district. And most of all, your snappy comments that made us laugh through those longer meetings. So I will miss you on the board, and I hope at some point in the next 3 years after you're done with budget committee, you come back to the board.
Thank you very much.
Anything else for Brian?
All right, moving on then. So just a quick update. The Campbell High School principal search is in full swing. I think the document that's linked here, you've seen copies of, but it's no longer a draft. We're moving ahead. There are still a few details to button up. Remember that the applications close on Wednesday. And I've had a couple of phone conversations over the weekend with folks. So I feel confident that we're going to have a good pool for the executive committee to take a look at. And we'll be doing that on Thursday and then recommending candidates to come in for the first round on Monday. So we're going pretty quickly on this, but I'm feeling optimistic. And, a reminder that the result of this really is finding one good candidate, right? We need one good person who is ready to pick up where Bill has left and carry on from there. So I think we're in good shape for that to occur. And a reminder to the public that the evening session is on Monday, March 21st. And the entire community is invited to come that night and meet the finalists or finalists, however many there are. And, the entire staff has been invited to come and to meet and ask questions and to weigh in on their thoughts, along with the community, along with the administrative team. And as we've done the last couple of principal hires, board members are invited to come that night and observe. So remember, you get the final bite at the apple by who I bring forward to you as the nomination, but you should feel comfortable coming and sitting in with the parents or the faculty, the admin team, and just observing the way the process plays out. So let me just pause there and see if there are questions from the board regarding where we are with the principal search.
no, but will we have an opportunity to say thank you to Mr. Lonergan? I know he's here.
Yeah, he's not done tomorrow. Like
Okay, I know, but you're here.
You
While
got
we're
it.
giving out gifts and saying accolades. Yeah.
On that note, Barbara and I were talking today about planning for the retirement tea, and we picked May 19th And so you'll be getting an invite that May 19th will be the retirement tea. Last year we did it outside in the courtyard, the flower garden. And weather permitting, I think that's where we're going to do it from now on, because that
really
felt
nice.
really nice out there. So, but you should expect to get an invite for that. You can put it in your calendars, but we'll send an invite out that that's the day of the retirement tea. I think there's going to be a save the date that comes out, just so people know that that's the date that we picked.
We have a lot.
Pardon?
There are a lot.
There are quite a few retirements this year. Yep. And so there'll be a lot of people that we want to recognize. And it's turned into a good event with past retirees coming back. So it's kind of like old home day for faculty. So we'll keep that going.
We have an enrollment report.
Enrollment report, pretty static enrollment. There's not much there to thrill you with. So
I have a question. Didn't we say there were only 93 kids in the 4th grade going up to the 5th grade? Didn't we talk about adding a 5th grade teacher? And what was the magic number? 100?
so
It's
the
23 per class.
so there are 96 current 4th graders.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to go to the enrollment projection, which I'm happy to
97.
do.
97. Oh, okay.
It's a trigger.
It's on that fringe, I think.
Enrollment projection. Let's just take
Sometimes I get
at
the
that.
Class of
projections.
24.
Yeah,
That's
the
why we-
projections and
So right now we're predicting that the 96 will turn into 101. And that's kind of based on historical numbers that we've seen. I think in the past, some of that's been influenced by students from
St. Francis.
St. Francis coming in, but they're changing their grade configurations. So it's going to put a little bit of uncertainty into what ends up happening. But currently we're projecting the 101. And if you look at the class sizes, then to answer your question, Liz, it with 4 staff members, it puts us at 25 in the classes, and one class would have 26 because you can't have 25.3. So it would be
Okay.
4 25s and a 26. Your class size guideline is 23. And that's something that we're going to keep our eye on as we see actual enrollments as they come along. And we certainly have in the back of our minds, if we never see the 101, we may not need to act. But if we hit that or go higher, it's something that we are going to have to take some action on.
Okay. School board comments.
I have something that kind of goes in line as far as with me leaving, but I just want to take a moment and I guess first and foremost, thank the residents of Litchfield for their support and trust in me. I've been elected sometimes unopposed, but at the same time, I've served 3 times and I've been very proud of that. I feel that the board, this current board and other boards I've been associated with have accomplished a lot. I think we're on a great direction. There's still a lot of work to do ahead of us, but I think the foundation is there and we've accomplished a lot I think of how much has transpired over 9 years of me being on different boards. And I think we've accomplished a lot of positive. I know come Tuesday that at least my seat will change and Tina's seat is also up. She may return. Hopefully she does. If not, then there'll be 2 new individuals here. But I also feel confident as boards before me and boards after will continue in the same vein. And hopefully all the work that this board has been working on over the last several years will continue. I mean, we've done a lot of work as far as, just things right now that are on the board, LMS and GMS. A lot of work has been laid down. But I feel confident that will continue with the leadership of Dr. Jetty. I think the most important thing for new board members coming in, just remember that really what our focus is and what mine has always been is what can we do that's best for the students to give them the best education, to get the best teachers in front of them and the best environment for them to learn. And that's really what it is. There's all policy and everything else we work on, but when it comes down to it, it's all the students. And I feel very proud that has been my focus from day one, that's what I want to do. And hopefully I accomplished part of that. And I know I have with a lot of good boards from the past. So thank you very much.
That's right.
Dr. Jetty, can you discuss why we're meeting today? on a Monday?
Yeah, because election is tomorrow.
It
And this will be
doesn't
the
have
last-
anything to do with the election, though. We didn't have 2 meetings in February, correct?
Well, so actually we meet the first and third Wednesday of the month.
In the
And because February vacation really was a March vacation, we should have been meeting last Wednesday. That's the first Wednesday.
So that's
of the
why
month.
we're meeting today on
And
Monday. Yeah.
We had people who were away on vacation.
Mhm.
Me.
Well, Tara and I could have held it
I know.
together.
Liz and I
We could have
yeah.
run the show.
We really
We
wanted
had our
to
version
have
of
it.
the
I think it'd been nothing but snacks.
So we had the choice to cancel and not have the meeting, but we felt that there was also business that we needed to get done before we lost the opportunity. So we pushed it to today because it was the first day back from vacation and before the board election took place. So we either had to meet tonight or tomorrow. And tonight felt better.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Student representatives aren't here tonight. Is there any other, before I move on, any other school board comments? All right. Then let's go into general minutes, or general business. First, I have the public minutes from February 16th, 2022.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Questions or comments? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Minutes pass 500. That brings us to the 2022-23 school calendar.
So we're presenting tonight for consideration by the board the calendar for next year. And I just want to walk the board through a couple of things. So there have been a lot of conversations in the region and at the statewide level just regarding making sure that school calendars are aligned with vocational receiving school calendars. So, and honestly, we've done a pretty good job in South Central of lining up. So I have here a copy of the draft calendar for Hudson. And also, and that's being voted on tonight. And also the Pinkerton calendar. And then we have an analysis that came from the CTE just showing what days were outliers to make sure that students were able to access those programs. So we line up pretty closely with Hudson's draft calendar. And the board also knows that if the collective bargaining agreement passes tomorrow, there's new language about the start of school. And so we built the calendar around the new language, feeling confident that the voters are going to support us with this. And so you can see that we have 2 days of new teacher training starting on August 22nd, and then all staff returning back on Wednesday, the 24th. That allows us to get all our PD work done in before students return. And then students are going to return on Monday, the 29th. And we'll have a 5-day week before the 3-day Labor Day weekend. And then we are rolling through the rest of the calendar. So a couple of things to point out. The days in blue are early release days for Campbell. Kind of up in the air on this one. I mean, the 13th of September is the New Hampshire primary. So that's an election day. And in the past, we have not held school on those days. So we have it listed as a remote learning day for Campbell only. So we would hold school for all students. Campbell students would have remote day on that day. And again, that's something that if the board were to say, no, we really want you to be in session, we would figure out a way to make that happen. Tomorrow, we're voting in the town elections and we're just sealing off the doorways. So voters are not able to get into the school. We're locking that down. We can lock off the gym. I mean,
Yeah, I never remember from election to election. So state, we've closed the schools?
we
I
have
know
held,
national we did.
we have held professional development days on those.
Right.
Yep. So September, that's what's eventful there. October, we're holding a PD day on October 7th with the Columbus Day on the 10th. I got to blow this up. Hang on a second. I'm struggling to read the numbers here. There we go. And so that's what October would look like. So it is a 4-day weekend for students and families around Columbus Day, 3-day for staff. November, you'll notice that the quarter ends on November the 2nd. And then we're proposing to have parent-teacher conference day on the 8th, which is the election day. So again, it would be a day for parent-teacher conferences. And then, of course, Veterans Day and the Thanksgiving break as traditional. December is basically proposed with the week off for Christmas and New Year's. Those are both Sundays next year. So we would have the week in between. And I am proposing that we come back on Monday the 2nd. I think that families have returned back from their holidays, and our staff have that as a holiday, but they can take it in the week prior. Those who are year round can have the holiday in there. Then, of course, we have January 16th for Martin Luther King, and then the semester ends on the 19th. February vacation, unfortunately, continues to be late, lining up with the not Massachusetts weekend, or week, I should say. So it does trickle into March. You would have March elections on the 7th next year, right? Oh, no, I'm sorry. March elections would be on the 14th. So we would line our teacher workshop day up with that day. So again, we would not be in session for town elections. The quarter ending on the 31st, the regular week for April vacation. May 12th is the senior project day. That's why it's an early release for the high school. Memorial Day. And we're proposing a tentative graduation date of June 9th. And the 180th day is actually Monday, June 12th, which would be the last day of school for all students on Monday.
It's early.
It is early.
It's early because we were aggressive around the Christmas holiday
Yeah.
and aggressive on the start. So we are finishing much earlier, which I don't think is a bad thing.
Nope.
Right. It will be Monday, January 2nd
Yeah.
Oh, well.
for me.
What are other districts doing for that Monday the 2nd?
So Hudson is taking that day
Oh, yeah, me.
if it passes tonight with the board.
So it won't be long for you.
And Pinkerton is also taking it. So that is one that many school districts take that to celebrate the New Year's Day
Right.
holiday. But as I explained when I was talking with our staff about it, I said, well, we'll just take the 30th. It's
30th
of December will be,
Oh.
Traditionally, if it's on the Sunday, you celebrate on the Monday, but it's New Year's. It was on Sunday. And you really celebrate that Saturday going into Sunday.
Yep.
So my sense is we can
Pick up a day.
pick up a day by getting started.
So we skip April vacation, pick up a week. It's just me.
Yeah, I'd love to pick up a day during the year so we don't have to come back on that Monday. On the 16th of June.
If there's still
What was it again?
Oh, that no,
Monday
I'm
the
sorry,
12th.
The 12th.
Monday the 12th.
Yeah.
Remember the old fashioned snow day that we want to get in.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of it is that if,
We just had one.
the public has asked for that, but that would tip you over to a Monday then.
No, we're already on a Monday.
No,
Yeah,
the
so
graduation
it's
day.
Tuesday.
So if we carve another day out
Yeah.
and we're ending on
Oh, for
Friday,
this year.
and then we have a good old fashioned snow day, now we're coming back on a Monday. This way, like coming back on a Monday and having a good old fashioned snow day, we're there till Tuesday.
Nobody plays in the snow anymore.
Brian, the emails were
I know.
very strong.
I'd
There was
seen-
a lot of
Do in our
confusion.
neighborhood.
Yeah, there was some confusion about the comment on the calendar that says the last day for students with 4 snow days. Some people were wondering if we built snow days in. I think
Yeah.
if we put the 180th day, can we say the last day of school for students? And then the 16th is the last day if we have, or something like each day adds on another day of school.
Because that is confusing because they say that in different
We can
districts.
absolutely
Yeah.
do that. The state requires us to put the last day with 4 snow days. So
Really?
yeah, it's
Pretty
actually,
self-explanatory. It's last day. for
but
students
I
with
think to
four-
say 180th day, last day for students, we
Yeah.
can put that right
Uh-huh.
in there.
Yeah.
Without snow
Unless
days.
there are snow days,
Right.
in which case you add one on at the end.
semantics. It's the same.
It
thing.
is. I didn't know the state requires
This
us
is the way.
to say that.
Yeah, this is the way it's always been. So
Yeah, it does. The statute says you have to publish a calendar that says that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
But some districts build in their snow
Yes,
days and then they
that's
get
correct.
out earlier than they said. So that's the confusion, I guess.
Can I say, I don't know if this is just new this year or what, but I like the color. Can it be put on the calendar on the district website
Yeah.
with the color? I think it's easier to identify than shades of gray. which is how it normally gets posted.
I think when we make copies of it and hand those out, it's usually on like colored paper and then
Yeah.
it uses the grayscale.
But on the
Yeah.
website.
But we can
But on the
certainly-
website, that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
I just think it's nice and it catches your eye as to which days are which.
Usually color them in anyway, so this will save me a step. All right, are you looking for approval tonight?
So a vote tonight, we can always bring it back if Hudson does something unusual or, I mean,
Or Pinkerton.
we're not going to be mailing these home tomorrow. So, there's an opportunity to make a revision, but I think an approval at this stage that we're on the right track would be helpful.
So will the CTE kids have to come an extra day? When's Hudson and Pinkerton's last day?
So Hudson's 180th day is the 19th.
Yeah, you.
So our kids will have to go to school an extra week.
The
Did
C-
they build in snow
CTE
days?
students.
So I'm just trying to,
I think they
That's surprising.
build in
CTE
snow
kids
days
usually start before the rest of the
Yeah.
rest of
in
camp.
August. Yeah, but this will be the second semester. I don't know.
Hudson seems to have more teacher workshop days than we do. I'm looking at what's different about this calendar.
Do they start at the same time we do? The 29th?
Their students come back the 29th. They're going a full 5 days. They're not doing the
3, 4, 5.
4-day weekend after the summer off.
Yeah.
And
I thought they had snow days built in, but I just. All right. So our CTE kids will have to go, juniors and sophomores. Do sophomores have to go an extra week?
You'll learn more.
Oh, that's fine.
they
But
are
sometimes-
taking Monday the 2nd. So on that day, our CTE students would not be able to go to CTE. But that's,
Is there a reason we're not doing the Friday, September 2nd? I feel like we've done that in years past.
I was just, so that, the question is, do you want to go 5 days that week or do you want to go to Tuesday? It's every one that you don't have up front, you're just adding on to the end. So
I like the calendar.
my sense
pretty
was
clean.
to hit the ground running and get a full weekend. I'm looking, I cannot figure out why. I feel like there might be a miscount in their calendar, but I won't say that for sure yet.
That's all right. I was just curious because sometimes there is confusion about the CTE start date and finish date.
Mhm.
That's fine.
That'll all be communicated out to those students, right?
I'll make a motion to accept the Litchfield School District's 2022-2023 calendar.
Do we have a second?
I'm still thinking.
I know.
Well, I'll second it for discussion.
So I don't like the idea of coming back for a single day
Mhm.
that Monday, the 12th.
Would you rather have the 4th off? Labor Day weekend?
That's what I'm saying. I'd rather go Monday, Tuesday, 12th and 13th, and have that week, 4 days to ease in for students rather than a full week personally. But I don't know if I haven't heard enough feedback either way, but if I'm speaking for myself,
So you want Friday the 2nd off.
yes, for two reasons. One, because I think it eases into the school year a little bit easier, and we've done that in the past. But then for the second reason, coming back, usually the last day of school is a half day. So we will literally be coming back for Monday the 12th for usually it's a half day, for a half day for that whole next week. And I feel like
With that,
we should either cut another day or we should add another day. But I don't like.
I'd rather cut another day and end on Friday.
Yeah.
And then, if everyone still wants a snow day, we'll come back on Monday.
Right, then they won't argue for another snow
No,
day.
they won't.
Right.
So Barbara just texted me and so Hudson presents it differently at the end. So their tentative last day includes 5 snow days. So they're actually
Yeah.
scheduled to get out on the 12th
12th.
also.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
And so they write it differently than we do.
Oh, interesting.
And so actually we're aligned.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out how on earth they were going.
That's where the confusion is. Some build it in, some don't.
Right.
I'll take that.
But do our CTE kids go through to the last day of school, or
CTE
you know?
kind of eases out. There's more of
I
a,
was wondering about
there's a final exam schedule that they're sensitive to. They've got
Right.
material they need to clean up and so forth. So, typically, the other thing is you got to remember 50% of the CTE are seniors who are done by day 175. So by the time you put all that in the mix, it's an ease out at the end. They're not going to miss much on June 12th
or 13th?
or 13th.
So is there even an option of taking out an additional day? Because I feel like this is already pretty lean in terms of professional development days. And so I'm not sure there is even a day to lose to be able to back up to Friday the 9th.
So let's do those.
And if
You
it's the
can't really
last week
start
of
earlier
December,
than the
let's not do
29th.
that.
Right.
Let's
can't-
still take that whole week.
Decide Labor Day doesn't count. Columbus Day is the one that people,
Go away.
feel like, well, do we need that day? But it is a federal holiday and people do go away for that. It's
Yep.
leaf peeping season, all that stuff. In November,
That's lean too, right? Well, do we?
I mean,
the election day. You said
We'll
there
be
was an
going to
election on
school.
the 8th?
The high
the
school
election
will
day is
be-
a teacher workshop day, so you have to
Oh.
move that somewhere else in the calendar, right? If you don't have
Okay.
it there,
Right.
it goes somewhere.
June 12th.
So it's
Teacher workshop days after school let out are not.
well, November
Really not.
8th is parent teacher conference day,
That's
which
right.
needs to be that week.
But
Teacher
October
workshop this
7th,
month.
could that
What are
be
you doing?
moved?
October 7th.
Right, because that's a teacher workshop day and that's not a voting day.
It could be moved somewhere else in the calendar, but it's still going to be.
It's not going to solve
Still going to
anything.
be a
It's not
day
gonna-
off.
It's not going to
Right.
I'm going with Alva.
eliminate. Unfortunately, this calendar is lean.
It's very
It is
lean.
later.
So I guess that's where I come back to take the Friday, the 2nd of September off, or the Monday, the 2nd of January off. One of those that bumps us into a
Tuesday.
full day Monday, half day Tuesday. I don't know. I know they do field day the day before. I don't know how that's going to play into elementary school schedule and whatnot, but having that Monday full day rather than, I don't know.
The only one is the good old fashioned snow day. I mean, this year we did 2 remote days, if I remember correctly, and then
A
the
snow
good old fashioned snow day, which, I mean, the weather on that day was terrible.
And
So
that'll give
it
you
was,
Monday.
the
That'll
right
give you
call.
Monday, Tuesday.
But then it would be the Monday, Tuesday. The way to not have a hanging Chad Monday is to have
Okay.
Tuesday become the last day through a snow day. Because I don't see any other way to stretch it out other than Friday the 2nd. But then if you add a snow day, you're at Wednesday the 14th. So
Which is still better than this
Still
year.
early. Yeah.
It's that
for us.
anything before the 15th to me seems like
Mhm.
seems okay. I don't know. Would
Can we
people rather?
rethink
That-
parent-teacher conferences? I thought Liz said that Hudson's parent-teacher conferences, when are they held? Are they evenings?
Yes.
At
They're all
first,
Ah.
Actually, can I ask somebody?
Ah,
It's the evenings, and they're only 10 minutes long. I can't remember.
They're 10-minute conferences in the evenings.
2 evenings,
Two evenings? Yes.
and it starts at 3, and one's 3 to 8, and one's 6 to 8, or some,
One's
3
a
to
half-
6.
One's a half day, one's a half evening, and one's a full evening.
And we meet with individual teachers, not with teams. And we did it all
We could do
remote.
it.
Does that open up more
What?
slots?
Like we do at
for
Campbell. Well, yeah, like
parents
Campbell.
too? Because I know that's been an issue. Anyway, just an idea to open up a day.
Well, so the way this is Monday the 7th is the evening, and then Tuesday the 8th is the full day. That's in our collective bargaining
I was going
agreement.
to say, if
So
we
I
were going to
think
make it only
our
at night, we'd
language
have to.
differs from Hudson's because of the way that's worded in there.
I would say leave it as it is, and you get a snow day, then you go into Tuesday. If you don't, then it happens to be Monday.
Can always work on a sidebar agreement to allow that change for this year, potentially.
Which change would you?
The parent-teacher conference for evenings.
Didn't
That
we
could
already have
potentially
those?
be a sidebar.
Or instructional hours.
Just to, sorry to jump
Yeah,
into the
no.
conversation, just to speak to a side effect, is there are some families for whom evening meetings work well and some who don't. So having that day meeting really helps to broaden that field for those folks that work in the evening, just as part of the sidebar, part of the agreement. Sorry to chime in.
No, that's all right.
Okay, so we'll table this. I feel more comfortable waiting until Hudson decides because we have so many students going there for CTE. I feel a little bit more comfortable waiting to see what they do, just so we're not on a number of days that.
You don't meet till 7, right? I don't know. 7.
You want to wait till later on in the meeting to discuss it? I mean, we have a motion in the
It's
second,
your
don't we?
pleasure.
do. All right.
You can always come back to it.
Yeah.
So, do you withdraw your motion or do you want to?
No,
Go
I want to give it a
forward.
motion.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed
Nay, me, I.
and abstain. I guess I abstain. So 5. Nope. 3, 1, 1.
How come you're abstaining?
Because I'm not opposed to this calendar, but I'm also not fully ready to make a decision.
So motion passes.
So it passes 3-1-1. And I think the other piece, if somebody wants to ask for it to come back at some point, we can certainly do it.
Sure.
I don't hate the
It can be
calendar.
revisited.
I think there
Just wanna
should be
digest it.
one of those days off. So that was my issue with it. But good job with making a lean calendar, and everyone will be very happy on the 12th if that's the day that they get out.
Right. Nobody will be happy.
Yeah,
with the
high
calendar.
absence
No matter
rate on
what
the
you do,
12th.
you cannot please everybody. So,
Right.
all right. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
That brings us to the GMS principals report. Are you good?
Yeah, it's Read Across America Weekend. The chorus is great.
Okay. You really are great. Thank you for
They
bringing
were
that.
excellent.
Yeah, I cried a
Probably
lot.
one of the best principal report we've seen.
That's
Yes.
And also, good call doing it in March at Music in Schools Months. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
that was serendipitous.
Yeah.
This originally was going to be November, I think.
I would like to see the high school and middle school have read my shirt and see what they come up with.
Oh.
That'll be really fun.
My school had positive slogan day.
Keep it clean.
That's right. Keep it clean. All right.
That's what she said.
That brings us to our. All right, pipe down back there. That brings us to our district goals, our school board goals for 21 to 24, and updates from each of our 3 principals.
Yep. So I'll go first and do the district, and then we'll work our way through the schools. So a reminder that the board set the goals last spring, if I remember correctly. We spent time over the summer putting those into action steps. So we really wanted to say, okay, so how do we enact these goals, make them come alive in our schools? And we worked over our retreat time. I think we had 4 days this summer that we were in retreat, working on trying to establish exactly what the goals were for each building. And so at the district level, the 2 that we identified are the LMS building upgrades and also the GMS architect selection and preliminary scope and design work. We linked those back to the school board goals on facilities improvement and also community engagement. And then we listed out the action steps that we plan to take this year. So they're the 21-22 goals. And so basically for the LMS building project, we wanted to complete phase 1, which was the windows, roof, HVAC 1, and the conference room. And we also wanted to develop a plan for phase 2, which is the HVAC, solar, and lighting. And you can see my commentary on our current progress. And I think we've done a pretty good job of staying on track with those goals this year, as evidenced by phase 1 being completed under budget. The timelines were a little bit longer than anybody wanted them to be, but that's just the nature of the way things are running right now in the construction industry. And so, we really did a decent job buttoning up the envelope at LMS. And of course, phase 2, the plans have been finalized, the bids have been solicited. North Branch is sitting there waiting to hear how the vote goes tomorrow. And then they are ready to rock and roll as soon as it's done. Corey and I were meeting with the consultants today, just buttoning up. Okay, so when we get a positive vote tomorrow, what are we doing Wednesday to get going on this plan? And so we have all our action steps ready to go as soon as we get the positive vote from the public. And so, a ton of work has gone into promoting and explaining that to people, and now it's in the hands of the Litchfield voters regarding LMS. And as far as GMS goes, as you know, we followed the process of interviewing several architects. We selected Kyle as the architect that we're going to work with on that project. We did the community forums this year. I think we're on track to have a warrant article for spring of 23, but that all depends on tomorrow's vote also, because, if the voters support us on the warrant for the middle school, we can stay on track with the GMS project. This could delay if there's a negative vote tomorrow. It certainly is going to cause us to say, okay, now what do we do? Because we have a LMS problem to resolve, and making headway on GMS is going to be a little bit problematic. So we just want to make sure that we stay on track with selecting the right site for GMS and the right plans for GMS, making sure that we get our intent to file for building aid done on time. There's a lot of stuff lining up, but I'm proud of where we've come in the last year. And I feel that we've really zeroed in on the kind of progress that needs to be made. And, I don't feel that we've missed anything, but I'm open to any commentary from the board or thoughts on where we are relative to the goals that we set.
So I was just thinking, obviously, we're hoping for a positive vote for LMS tomorrow. If not, I would think that at that point, the board would have to shift gears and start considering year-end funds to start going through some of the purchases that will have to take place at LMS, such as the oil tank.
I think that would become first priority, the boilers and the underground oil tank.
And also using the fund that we already have established as far as repairs. I mean, it'll be depleted before you know it, because there are some things that have to be done, as was outlined in that report. But I'm thinking, like, what do we have to do, like, right away if it were to fail? And that is spend a lot of money, and hopefully we have that money is we're going to need at year-end fund, because you're going to have to wait till the following budget in order to capture some of those monies.
Brian, I think it's important that we recognize too that when we budgeted our energy resources for next year, we trimmed down to 3-year averaging because we thought that was important. Remember, you're trying to deliver the tightest budget that you could, right? So we trimmed those to 3-year averaging. Well, that was using the last 3 years. With what's happening in the current oil market, we think we're potentially upside down by about $200,000 in that if this warrant is not
if it stays the
supported.
way it's going.
Our energy, our
to-
energy consultant is looking at potentially about 7% inflation in the volatile market of oil and propane. So
he commented today that
There's-
oil hit $130 a barrel today.
$5 a gallon.
And so,
Same.
you're looking at a real escalation in prices. Anybody who drives a diesel vehicle knows what you're paying right now at the pump. So, and basically that's home heating oil. So we're worried about where we stand. But you're exactly right.
Like every homeowner.
It will involve a lot of doubling back to figure out where we stand with the budget.
Yeah.
And year-end funds will be critical.
Okay.
Oh, I'm depressed. Thank you.
Sorry. You're welcome. Anything else
You're
on
well
district?
rested.
Yeah, I am well rested.
It's like I said, I think we've made a lot of good progress.
Yeah, this, I mean, this has been a focus of the last 2 years. I know Brian and I, this is my first year on the facilities improvement, and it's been a lot of work and a lot of meeting and a lot of research and back and forth. And
This is really, it's the best momentum we've had
yeah,
since I've been
I
here.
agree.
And it's exciting, and hopefully we
Mhm.
get that affirmative tomorrow.
I will say, and have really appreciated Brian and Tina's participation in that, but I think you make headway on the goals when you become routine in the way you approach them. So the Monday energy meetings, which we've held religiously, and it's allowed us to keep tabs on every step of this, right? And the every other Wednesday facility meetings have allowed us to keep tabs on where we are. So just making goal accomplishment part of the routine and the way you come at it has really paid dividends for us. So we want to keep those meetings going forward. So
Thank you.
how do you want to go? Do you want to start at the elementary, or
Let's go backwards.
so Campbell's next? Come on up, Bill.
Who wrote this? Did you each write your own? Or
Yes.
type them in?
So
Would you like
basic,
me to fix your spelling errors? But I can't.
Oh, good. She says to the former English teacher.
the problem is that Bill Gates does not underline in red in a spreadsheet. So it leaves you can easily do something and he's not over your shoulder fixing it. So basically, to answer the question a little bit, Liz, the first three columns, so the school goals, the link to the school board goals, and the action steps, we entered in. I think Michelle actually created that for us. And then the principals have done the progress updates. So
Okay.
They're actually from the presentation in September.
Yeah. We had our goal setting meeting.
Excellent.
So the first one is utilizing data regularly in PLCs. We've been up and down on this. Getting the data assessment team moving forward was a little bit of a challenge just in terms of staff attendance supporting that. So having said that, though, we've gone through our PSAT and SAT scores, sort of now analyze the scores, and then one other piece to that was specific to math, is looking at a unique challenge that happened for our students, which was that they bombed on the easy questions, which makes no sense whatsoever. And what it appears is they were kind of breezing through things that they really know well and going over to the medium test and to the medium questions and the harder questions. So it provided an opportunity to give our math teachers in particular a little bit of a pacing question for our kids and having conversations about, going seriously from beginning. What you think is easy isn't necessarily as easy as you think it is. And it's not things that they haven't been taught. It's clearly things that they've been taught in terms of the curriculum, but it's just didn't do well in that area. You go up to the medium questions, they did better on those questions, and the hard ones were challenging for many of the kids because they're more demanding questions. So that if you look over to the right-hand column there in terms of our progress, that is in the PSAT and 8-9 data from the fall 21 assessments, and we also have in there the current senior scores on the junior SATs. If you look at that document, I think it's kind of interesting in a way. Hold on, I just want to get to it.
Class of 2023 will be taking them later on in the month, the SATs, correct?
Correct. Yeah, the SATs are coming up
March 12th.
couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the next week or so. Yep.
I'm
So,
not able to click on that link.
What's that?
Is there something weird about that link?
I'm in there.
No, I just.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay, yep. So if you look at our 2021 SAT scores, these are our current seniors. And if you look at those scores across, they did fairly well in comparison to the national average, a little lower than the state average, which was surprising to me on the English reading, writing, and the same with the math. And that's, we should be better than that. That information has been provided to teachers, both in terms of those general scores, but they've also received the student-specific scores. For the seniors, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference at this point because they're gone. But for our current juniors who took the PSAT back in the fall, it's an interesting read when you look at these scores down below. So our juniors, you'll see progression over the 3 years that they took the test, which is a nice thing to see. The English reading and writing, the math, and the totals go up every year. And it's the same thing for the sophomore class, and it's the same thing for the freshman class as well. Well, actually, not for the freshman class, for the sophomore class. One of the interesting pieces on this is our freshman class actually did pretty. If you look up at the sophomores, the class of 2024, and look at how they did on the 2020 test, the English reading writing 450, the math 423, and 873 total score. If you look at the class of 2025 and look at their scores, they're considerably higher. Do you have access, Mike?
Yeah, I wasn't sure which.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at the bottom.
You're looking at the PSAT one.
Yeah. And if you look at the 2024 sophomores, the first year taking the test was in 2020. 450, 423 for an 873 score. Look at the freshman class, a 473, a 456, and a 929 score, which is really kind of interesting that this freshman class did so well, relatively speaking, compared to how the sophomore class, who when they were freshmen, didn't do well. And I'm wondering, part of that is the end of COVID, their 8th grade year, and you had remote learning, and all of a sudden you come back in your freshman year, and things were a little bit rough for you on your testing, because we left in March of 2020.
For the sophomores.
Yes, these are
Okay.
sophomores.
Yeah.
So they come into
Yeah.
the fall of 2020. They didn't perform well at all, which is surprising. Now, again, if you look at the next year, the scores jumped up considerably for them.
But don't you think they have it in middle school and then they have it as freshmen? Like I expected my son to do better on the test when he was a freshman.
Yes, but they don't have the PSAT in middle school. They offer the PSAT 8-9. You can take in 8th grade, 9th grade. So
Is that what we did?
We could no.
They
They
start at
take the statewide assessments
Oh, all right.
at the middle school level.
And then they start sophomore and junior year with the
Yeah,
PSATs.
freshman is PSAT 8-9.
And they do a freshman year.
Yeah. Yep. So you see growth over time for all of those various groups, which is what I would hope you would see. They're used to the testing. They're meeting some more challenging materials. They're kind of stepping up a little bit. So it'll be a little interesting to see what our current freshmen do sophomore year when they take the regular PSAT.
In the future, can we see too the New Hampshire and US
We can,
averages
yeah.
for
And
PSAT?
I should have put those in here. I didn't even think to put those in there. I did it for the SAT, and the SAT is it's both statewide and nationally. The numbers are huge. For the PSAT, the numbers aren't quite so large for the 8-9 because not a lot of schools use the PSAT 8-9. But the PSAT, those numbers will be significant. I can get those to you if you want. That won't be a challenge to do.
So what are we doing about these scores?
What are we doing in terms of teachers sort of
Right.
getting them to understand the test a little better, designing SAT, PSAT type questions for kids? It's I think if you are doing high level challenging materials, the kids will get this. The PSAT and the SAT used to be a lot about vocabulary. It's changed since then. It's more high level thinking skills, writing skills, interpretation skills, those types of things, which are things in our classes the kids are doing. We're not getting them up over the hump though.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No. So I skipped over that. I skipped to talk about the science assessments. So if you look at that document here, these are from our juniors last year who took the science assessment. And I want to apologize because when I was looking at this evening, I realized that I didn't include the state averages in this as well. And when I went over this with Kim Barnett, we had pulled them, and for some reason, I just didn't include them in the same document. So if you look at our overall science scores, I'll be quite frank with you, they're not as good as they should be. In particular, when you think about the kids who score at the highest level, you can't even see that on the overall science score. It's about 1% of our kids. Statewide is about 4% of our kids. Okay, so they're not doing as well. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is our kids aren't experienced taking the science assessment, okay, at the high school level. It's a lot more challenging than what you take in the middle school. And then the other piece to that is the questions require a whole lot deeper thinking on them. One of the things our teachers haven't done, and this year they're actually in the process of starting that, is doing the modular assessments, which are the interim assessments that prepare kids for the type of questions that they're going to get. And there's a lot more interpretation. There's a lot more inferential questions. There's the standards in the types of questions are really difficult. So Joanne Ray's met with Jeff Parsons to get the science teachers trained so that they can begin using modular assessments in the spring now. I think that'll make a little bit of a difference for our kids in terms of handling these a little better than they are.
So it sounds like, where it used to be, we'd take a science test or an assessment. It was content based.
Yeah.
It was what you know about biology and what you know about
It's more along the lines of not only what you know,
right.
but what you can do with it.
What you can do with it.
Right. And that's where the science teacher has changed their thinking in terms of more inquiry-based types of work. So you're doing the lab, but then you're doing a whole lot more sort of hypothesizing, finding, and sort of explaining what you're seeing in the course of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these questions require.
I feel like COVID had an impact on this because I remember looking at my kids' science scores thinking it wasn't a dip. It was like, what happened? I mean, it was like something.
It's not an easy test either.
No, it's not.
Was it a concentration thing
That
or
was
like
the eighth
something
grade,
like
too.
it was so drastic. It was like, I don't think it's a performance thing necessarily. I feel like I don't even know what it was, but I remember saying,
I think
this is not right.
I think it's that. I don't dispute that COVID is a piece of that. I also think it's a readiness piece in terms of those higher level thinking skills being applied to scientific situations with kids. And not that this is a total excuse, but we've lost numerous really good science teachers in the last few years that have made that somewhat challenging to maintain that consistency for our kids. So my hope is with Joanne being in there taking over for Kate, Joanne's doing a really nice job implementing the modulus so kids at least have some practice time with the types of questions they're going to see. Not just, and these can be done with freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, so they can be done along the way so you have that regular exposure. And it doesn't mean you give up your curriculum, you give up your planning, but you give students the opportunity to see the types of questions they're going to see. I think another piece of this is inspiring kids that this is meaningful. We looked at a number of students who took the assessment and saw that they scored in the red and said, well, how did that happen for these students? These are really smart kids, talented, hardworking students. They didn't belong down here in the red section. So is it about motivation? Is it about understanding the value of what these mean for you, both in terms of knowing who you are, but also knowing in terms of who we are as a school? I do think that's a bit of it. Yeah.
One thing to keep in mind when we're analyzing scores like this is, things that are universal, like the pandemic. Well, every school in New Hampshire suffered with the pandemic, right? So does that come into play with all scores dropping? Maybe. Does it come into play with one school? Not so much.
No.
And I just think we have to be really careful as we analyze this to say, yeah, we're all in a pandemic, but Campbell is not a below average high school. And when I see that 45% of the kids are not proficient in science, that does not describe the school.
Right.
No.
And so the science department has got to, engage with how to achieve results that are comparable to other schools, because we should be doing better than this.
Right.
And that's the challenge that we need to keep first and foremost. And I think Joanne is the right person to keep leading that discussion, and the training is necessary, but there's work to be done on this.
And the thing is that it may have been a pandemic, but we keep priding ourselves on the fact we kept kids in school.
Right.
Right.
So
So why? Right.
Mhm.
I agree.
So the next section was AP scores, and I've been a little remiss on this. When Jody sort of pulled out the scores, provided them to the teachers, I haven't followed up with the teachers in terms of looking at the specific of the questions and across the board for the various departments. So I actually put in my agenda to take a look at the AP scores and meet with the various teachers who are teaching the AP courses. So I'm looking, and I think that's the wrong. Okay, there it is. Okay. So if you look within there, you'll see the sort of mean test scores. And I believe I gave you this information maybe back in the spring of last year.
Yeah.
I think. Okay, so nothing has changed on there. If you look at our biology program, students overall generally do fairly well. Our students, 70% of them nearly scored threes or higher, which is pretty significant, I think. It'll be this year we don't have AP Bio, we have AP Environmental, so we're not going to have scores to compare with last year or this current year. With last year. So we're going to be taking a bit of a leap here. There's going to be a 2-year gap, so I'm not quite sure what that will show. We have a new teacher who's AP Environmental this year was taken over by Kurt first few weeks into school, and now Ken is taking that over. So he's taught biological science. He's actually taught AP Bio, so for him this won't be too difficult to at least get them to the end of the year. Then after that, you have your AP Calc, which we always do really, really well. Diane just does a terrific job. And as a side note on Diane is going to be taking over our AP Physics class in the fall. She's an engineer by trade, so she's going to take the AP program this summer, the training program for physics. So she'll teach that out of her content area. But I'm really excited for her to have that opportunity because I think she'll do a great job with our kids. We also then have our next one, which is Calc. This is the second set of Calc. Again, terrific scores for her. Chemistry. Now, this is Joanne's first time teaching AP Chem. So she's teaching it 2 years in a row. So she's got it this year as well. It'll be interesting to see what she does in terms of the scores for this year in comparison to last year. Only because I know formerly as an AP teacher, second time through was a very different experience from the first time. Moving down, we have art history, which was one student. We did not have an AP art history course who took it and did okay. She got a 3, which is a sort of a feather in her cap for not having actually taken the course.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then we have AP English language and literature and composition. And this is, I think, where there's some need for some turnaround this year. And this is, I'll meet with this teacher in the next few weeks and take a look at scores and figure out what he might be able to do in the next few months of the school year to target this group, because I think our kids should be doing, although we did have, 30% of the kids almost score 3 or higher, but I think there's room for growth in this.
That's only 2 students.
Say that again.
30% of that group is only 2 students.
Correct. Right. Yeah. It's out of the 7 that took it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, yeah, you had 5 out of 7 that didn't achieve the proficient score on it. So
Right.
Yeah. Certainly, that's that's something to look at. And this, well, let me go on to the U.S. history. This is Nate's students, his first time teaching AP U.S. history. So
No, this was Mr. Gingras.
was this English last
Yeah.
year? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm stepping. Nate taught
Gov.
AP Gov. Yep. Good catch on that. Yep. So this is Dave, his first time teaching. 50% of his kids, again, 6 students, but 3 of them scored a 3 or higher. And if you look at those sort of numbers, we're in okay comparison to the state and to the students globally who take it. And the next group is our
That's the first one, I think.
That's Nate.
U.S. Gov, and this is Nate, and I'm pleased for a first time teaching this course.
Yeah.
How Nate's student did. We do miss him this year in terms of his teaching, certainly.
I mean,
This says
44%.
Nate Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last spring.
Last
Oh,
year.
but we've got we have a
Yep.
different.
44% getting a 5 is.
I know, that's
Yeah.
a lot.
That's a good result.
Stay away.
Who's teaching that this year?
What's that?
Who's teaching AP Gov this year?
Who is teaching AP Gov? Noah Benoit.
Okay.
And next year too, I think.
Yes. Yep. And then scrolling down further. Is that the last one?
AP Stats.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I've got a window that opened that didn't allow me to go down. Oh, yeah, AP Stats. Numbers are okay, not great. but this was this teacher's second year teaching the course, and certainly we can do better, but I don't think a 50% scoring 3 or higher is awful.
So, Bill, it says there were six students taking
Yeah.
that exam.
Yeah.
Is that the full class?
No,
Okay.
no. In fact, I don't know the total number of that class, but it was a higher number.
Okay.
One of the things students have done is, particularly during COVID, is struggle a little bit with whether they want to take the AP test. So it's a commitment of $98, and it's a commitment of a pretty rigorous, demanding experience for you. Yep.
And I have to say, of the colleges that we toured, they don't ask for those
A lot of
scores.
them don't. Nope.
At least this year.
Or they'll give you gen ed credit if they do. They won't necessarily give you your statistics credit necessarily. Yep. So so the question is, for students, is it worth it to do? I think a lot of students want to sort of take on the challenge.
Mhm.
I think some of them want to take on the challenge during the class, but don't want to take on the challenge
Yeah.
of
No,
what
that
the
makes
end
sense.
result means. Yeah. Yeah. And students who want to take them, they take the courses. I don't think there's a reason to say, no, you can't do it. And sometimes that's it's a leap of faith for them that they're willing to commit themselves to the rigor. So, and then the next one is our computer science, and these are students who are taking and doing 3 kids. Oh, actually, one student who got a 3, and this isn't through the AP curriculum. This is through Project Lead the Way curriculum, I think. So
But it is an AP.
it is an AP. It's designated as an AP course. It's not the prescribed AP curriculum that they have, but it meets all the requirements of it.
It's
This is its
the
VLAX.
prescribed AP curriculum has the flexibility for the programs.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it follows all the same guidelines. as
Yeah.
the AP.
And this is done on VLAX?
No. It says
Oh, it
VLAX,
says
but it
it's-
wasn't.
Oh, it's not.
No, that was Sean's class. Should have been Sean's class.
No.
Oh, then I might have pulled the wrong score for you, because I know Sean had a number of teachers take it. Yeah, I'm thrown off by that. So my next goal is to meet up with teachers and have conversations, looking back at the scores and figuring out how did they do, what did they mess up on, and what did they do. So,
There's definitely room for improvement.
oh yeah, no.
A lot.
No question. Yep. So the next goal was advisory and redeveloping our CHS advisory. So I'll skip over the school board goals and the action steps and get to sort of an update on that. One is Mike Perez has met with the advisory committee monthly and taken a look at the various things that we cover in our advisory. So, and part of that entails sort of the social emotional stuff, the handbook, procedures, those typical things. The goal for him next year is to sort of break it down a little bit more clearly by 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade, which is in the process right now. So we'll move that forward. The challenge program, which is coming up next week, is a sort of piece of that planning. So I'm kind of interesting to see in what that sort of brings about, not necessarily with respect to goals, but in terms of what that does to our community, because it's both an anti-bullying, but it's also it's a climate and culture program that I think our kids need, particularly now that COVID is, almost over.
Mr. Lonigan, it's 100 students a day, correct?
Correct.
So this will probably take place, so probably sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and we won't have to see it again? Well,
For 2 years.
For 2 years. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. So it's Monday, Tuesday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday and Wednesday will be at CHS. Tuesday is going to be down at LMS. So we have the district concerts next week. So that sort of, we needed to move the kids out of the gym.
So your kids can come up?
Jen has been collaborative in providing her gym. So we'll take buses down there with teachers and students down there.
And you have teachers from GMS and LMS who volunteered to go. I thought they were hits last time.
No, I don't believe we have any of your teachers.
Mike extended the offer today.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We can,
It's tough with subs.
short time frame with subs.
Right. And this is also involves not just CHS staff, but police, fire, parents, community members. We actually are bringing in Londonderry High School's administrative team who want to observe Challenge Day and see what it's like for the kids. So it's also a way to collaborate with some of the administrators in another district.
Excellent.
So, well, if you're familiar with Londonderry, they've faced some significant challenges this past couple of years. And this is maybe a good way for them to help build up a little bit more of that camaraderie and that social emotional stuff that's really important. Yep. Yep. A second part here is creating this 5-year plan in Naviance. So Val, in her first year here, has not struggled. She actually had a great first year. But using Naviance in a way that sort of provides freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors the ability to use all the various pieces of it is still a work in progress. So her goal this summer is to really start digging into Naviance and looking at what the is that where you saw the spelling mistake, Liz, by the way?
Monthly, there's another one. You can
There's
find it later.
I just saw expectations, so I'll correct that one. for you.
Oh, I spelled love wrong all the time. My fingers do it backwards.
So Val's hope is that in the summertime that she can begin to really look at Naviance and look at all the various pieces of it and find a way to come up with freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior planning. Again, to sort of make sure that we attack all the various pieces for kids, not just sort of the advisory norms, but the advisory norms that you can complete within using Naviance's tools. Oh, and what was the next one on that? Well, okay, so I also created a timeline. One of the things that I've never really thought of over the course of a year, which is 6 years, anyone would figure you would, is what are the dates and deadlines for having information that you're providing, not just to the staff members, but to the community as well. So I just drew up that quick timeline. I don't want to belabor that, but the asterisk ones that are some of those that are already in process and we've already begun working on for the current school year. So the hope now is that they can use this to say, okay, come spring, we've got the SAT testing, we've got the AP testing. We sort of gather that and then work on it over the summer to bring into the next school year to provide to staff. And the same thing with the things in the fall, how we bring that along to everyone. So I think that'll just help Mike, Val, new principal to make sure that they're addressing.
So this would be, for example, on the website.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Yep. Okay, and then finally, the community engagement piece. And I think this is the one where I've struggled the most, not in terms of the PTO, Athletic Booster Club, and Friends of Performing Arts. I actually think we've done a decent job of committing ourselves to being there administratively. One of the challenges is getting the teaching staff to participate in that. Okay, and that. I'll take some of this. I can push and push and push. Getting them to sort of participate in that has been a bit of a struggle. So certainly looking at that for next year is something that we hope we can get them to share some of the work and joining with them.
So you're saying you want staff participation in these clubs like CHS, PTO, Athletic
Yes,
Boosters?
absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, I
gosh,
think
that's so. I remember going to the PTO meetings at GMS and LMS, and I don't think staff ever came to those.
Oh, they were when we were there.
Yeah.
When we were there,
we-
fighting.
has been to PTO for the last 12 years.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were always
Yeah.
teachers when we were there.
Always.
Janine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dennis
Good.
Perot.
I love that.
Dennis
Yeah.
Perot was on my PTO
Yep.
for years, going to PTO.
And they're
meetings.
asked to join too.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to
Absolutely.
that connection
Yeah.
with parents and the community.
Remember what the
Absolutely.
T stands for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep. So I think overall we've done a good job administratively. Now the push is to get the staff to be a part of that as well. But we talked about utilizing and promoting LCTV, and it's kind of interesting because really we in the throes of COVID they were crucial.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have quite the same need for them to go to basketball games or football games or those other things, and they're also having challenges finding enough hours in a day to do all the things that people want them to do.
I'm sorry,
However,
Bill,
they did do our winter music.
I'm sorry, did you just say that you don't need staff at like games?
No.
Don't
In terms of
TV.
finding time for LCTV to come to
Yeah.
Skeleton
games
crew.
and those other things. Yeah. They just, the commitments are varied and wide, and they can't be to the high school all the time. So they did do our winter concerts. I haven't checked with Carolyn, but my hope is they're going to be at the current ones coming up next week. And they've done a great job with graduation. So I'm anticipating that they'll be filming graduation as well. But again, with COVID at that point, hopefully we're outdoors. We're not going to have the same setup. We'll have an opportunity for more of the community to come in. But I also think it's nice to have that opportunity to view it at home too.
It is. And for any time I've seen like a concert or a game or something posted on, for example, Facebook, it's always gotten rave reviews.
Yes.
Like I know that people really value that.
Absolutely.
That's a great.
And I don't think we should do away with that, but I understand that there are going to be fewer needs for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. And this is where I say our next one, parent meeting schedule around student activities and events. This has been the challenge. In the past, I would have parent coffees and I would have 4 to 6 people show up. My first one this year, nobody showed up. My couple at the end of last year, nobody showed up. So trying to find ways to schedule those sort of interactions with parents around CHS activities is something that needs to. When we did our 8th grade parent night 3 years ago, the turnout at our administrative meeting was 25 people. And it was just a great opportunity for them to sort of have a quick conversation with us.
Was that before or after school?
It was before the 8th grade parent night. So the parent night is 5:30 or whatever it might be. It was before that, so a half hour before that.
I just find, I know Tara, myself, probably Heidi, 7 o'clock. I have to be in my building by 7:30. I'd love to come. I haven't been to one.
Yeah.
And it's a tough time I don't even have little kids. That was even worse to get out the door in the morning. Even
Love the idea of it, but I can
Yeah.
never get out.
No,
Although I
absolutely.
joined a couple times remotely.
So the idea though is to find other opportunities to have your staff come into the school to meet with your administrators around key events that are happening over the course of the year.
But you interact with parents. I've seen Mr. Sika at hockey games.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When you and Mr. Perez are there, that's a great publicity for the school when teachers and
Absolutely.
everyone's there in Mr. Josh Knight.
No question. I'm an English teacher, I will admit, so my Power School Messenger tends to be wordy and verbose sometimes.
No.
I've tried
Not you.
to be more succinct. My next one's going to be 4
presentation.
sentences, okay? So Dan, okay. No, that's a work in progress through the end of the year. And I've tried to make it shorter and briefer and all those things. It's just, there's so much that goes on at a high school that you want to make people aware of. And then the social media platforms, I just gave you a listing of those. One of the things I'm doing now, aside of this over break, but I haven't had a chance to put it up with teachers yet, is to find out all the social media platforms that our clubs and organizations use. Because we have we have a 2017 yearbook page, that, well, we don't need it to. So what are the current up-to-date, what are the ones? And then again, keep a listing of this on the school website so you know what NHS is using, with Science National Honor Society, all those other groups. So
Do people still use Twitter? Don't the kids use Instagram now?
Yeah.
Well, and
again-
I've had the experience too with some of the co-curriculars using Snapchat and other,
I know.
Which
Here's the challenge, right?
concerns me a bit.
Yeah, how many do you want out there?
Right.
And at least what I would like to see is what's an index of the various apps that students are using and that their advisors are using. Student Council has at least 2 that they use, Instagram as well as Facebook.
Right.
Well, let's get a listing of those. So
Yeah.
I just,
They have a Facebook page?
what's that?
They have a Facebook
I
page?
think so.
I think there are like 15 CHS pages still out there somewhere.
And
Yeah.
half of them are defunct.
Right, exactly.
And they're not connected to anything meaningful right now.
Yep.
So I'm in the process of pulling that together and making sure that we can provide that. So that's where we are.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay.
Oh, no.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Bill.
Thanks,
All
Bill.
right. All right. Thank you.
So next up, Jen Grantham from our middle school is going to walk you through LMS progress on these. And thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. I was conducting interviews for upcoming positions for next year. Lots of great prospects out there. Happy that we got the positions posted early because it means we have some fantastic candidates that we've been meeting with. So that's a good thing. So I am really excited to present this evening kind of some of the progress that we've made. As you all know, these goals were written before my arrival. So I'm updating on goals that were written before, but I think Mr. Lecklider and Mrs. Thayer did a fantastic job on building goals that we can all wrap our heads around and make some great progress towards those throughout this year. So to begin with, we had our SEL goal in regards to integrating strategies throughout our counseling program, PBIS and PLC model. Our school counselors both meet weekly with their grade level PLCs to discuss strategies for SEL and to how to meet students' needs who are springing to the top as concerns or with issues of how they can help support those students and also support those teachers in supporting those students.
Is that new, Mrs. Grantham? Have they always done that, or is that new?
I believe they've always done
Okay.
that. Those questions are going to,
Sorry.
I'm not positive, but I
Okay.
believe they have done it, but it's done with more consistency.
Excellent.
In regards, we have Emily McDonald, our new 5th and 8th grade school counselor, and Lynn Ellis, our 6th and 7th grade counselor, have done an outstanding job of reaching out and working to support teachers and students.
Awesome.
Observation I would share is that the longer school day and the focus on making sure that the PLC time is an entire period as opposed to, if you remember, it was a trade-off with lunch in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You get a lot more done in 45 minutes than you do in 22.
Yeah.
And so I just think that there's a stronger focus, and the middle school staff has absolutely embraced this and has really stepped up nicely this year. So I think a lot of good things are coming, and of course it'll continue to evolve. But it's, you put all that in the mixer, and that's why I think you're seeing some results.
So additionally, they started this school year with really focusing on SEL prepared lessons to begin the school year versus diving right into academics at first. We're constantly, a mantra that we're using this year is go slow to go fast. And you've talked a little bit here about the pandemic and post-pandemic. And it's not just that they weren't in school. It's how they were isolated in their homes, or they were forgetting how to interact with one another. So we've spent a lot of time about explicitly teaching some of those SEL strategies and positively teaching those SEL strategies to our students to help them come forward with thoughts of their own for improvement. Our school counselors had what they refer to as mini meetings, which are literally, I think, 1 to 3 minute meetings with every single student in our population to start the school year, to just get to know something about them and have a little bit of an, how many kids do we have in our schools on a daily basis that fly under the radar that we don't know about or don't know what's important to them? So they've had mini meetings with all students to kind of just be like, how's it going? And those kids that really didn't want to talk, that's okay. They didn't have to, but it was like, what class are you coming from? Just those simple conversation questions that they've had. They've also identified areas of specific needs and addressed concerns through small groups and through best time. Our PBIS committee has also identified areas of need based on teacher input and starting to roll out strategies again for improving our school environment and our atmosphere. We had a big conversation for those of you that have students at LMS regarding hallways, because for every student, the hallway is a different place to be when it's an unsupervised location. And as you're starting to get that independence versus in elementary school where you walk in a line from every classroom to the next classroom, middle school is the first place you have that freedom. And our PBIS team, working in collaboration with students and teachers and counselors, have started to come up with some solutions of how we can help to move that forward. And there were collaborative conversations in every classroom and every best across our school to kind of come to some unified decisions in regards to how we can improve that place for everyone. Kind of, again, taking that proactive role and trying to get ahead of issues versus reacting to issues that may come later. We talk about that school-based team visiting the Parker School to analyze aspects for building-based decisions, and that we have sent several teams out to Parker and brought back strategies for more effective PLCs. We've implemented the use of both data protocols and other school reform initiative protocols to drive productive PLC conversations. We were able to do a book study in a very succinct manner that helped us kind of talk about what a successful middle school looks like with our PLCs, in addition at our faculty meeting, using those SRI initiatives. So those were things that we brought back from Parker, and I think those have been super helpful to us, and we continue to look at ways that we can incorporate some of the amazing things that we've learned at Parker.
Where is Parker?
Parker Middle School, or Parker is it's Fort Devens in Massachusetts. It's a charter school, and they are significantly competency based. Their whole grading system is all regarding competencies, and they have an amazing PLC structure that I can't speak more highly of. When we went down, we were just really impressed with the way the conversations were purposeful and student driven. And our teams that have gone down have brought back the idea that, that's a part that we can wrap our heads around at LMS and bring into our school and make our school more student driven, focusing on how we can improve our individual students coming ahead.
Jen, just for the masses watching at home, can you explain what a PLC is?
Yes, it's a professional learning community. So it's during our common team planning time. So we have time that the teachers have on their own, that their individual, contracted planning time. And then we have common team planning time that is allotted for specific reasons throughout the week, which I, interchange common team plan and PLC. So those professional learning communities are really important to helping drive conversations and to bring improvement. So moving on from our Parker School conversations, we're really excited about the possibilities for next school year. Our leadership team will keep focus of monthly meetings on how programming affects learning blocks. So we've had a lot of conversation in regards to what our schedule currently looks like, what our teachers love about our current schedule, and what they'd love to see even better for next year. There are things that, as Dr. Jetty mentioned, like having that common team plan be a full period versus being smattered in around lunchtime. I think that that's something that we've definitely discussed really helps. So we're continuing to have those conversations. It's a work in progress. Our schedule is evolving as we speak. Mrs. Thayer, myself, a committee of teachers,
Mary.
She's back there somewhere.
Lady.
We've all been kind of talking about what it can look like and things that we're trying to have happen for next year for our students to be able to have access, for example, to BEST across all grade levels at the same time. That way students could access art, even if it wasn't a class that they were taking that semester. It'd be a way that they could access Spanish or access other classes that we have moving forward. So it's exciting to think about. So our next goal, sorry, my eyes are not tracking my computer here, to track student supports using Power Scheduler. So we've had some success this year with using Adaptive Scheduler with Power School. That was a new thing for LMS. And I would say that it is still a work in progress. Each team is utilizing Adaptive Scheduler, but in a slightly different way. So we had a good conversation about this at our last leadership meeting about how it's being used and how it helps us to know what classes students are choosing, and it helps us in the office to find where students are when they're using Adaptive Scheduler for that best time. It helps us to know specifically what students are seeking for that enrichment, or what they're being pulled for that intervention and that help that they need to improve overall. We're hoping to align those practices as we're moving forward. As we said, this year it was kind of get our toes wet. Let's see how it works. And then I think we're going to look at making sure that that's an aligned practice for next school year to make sure that everybody is utilizing it in a similar manner. So iReady has been a welcomed addition to LMS. Teachers and students are using this tool to meet individual needs and benchmark growth. The data from iReady has been utilized to help teachers meet with targeted groups and to help them progress. And I added a little iReady winter school-wide data piece in there. So that first,
Let me open it up here.
I can't get in.
I don't have access.
I don't have access.
sorry, let me
either.
share it. Sorry. Try that again.
There it is.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
So this gives you the placement of our school-wide data. I can aggregate it further, but didn't for this purpose because I really think that what this shows is the bottom chart shows our fall data and the top chart shows our winter data. And our goal in this is to really shrink those red bars. So as you can see, we're having a lot of movement away from that red side of the chart towards that green side, showing you the definite growth and development that our students are making throughout the year. And we're able to target even more specifically to help our students move from level to level. And this is the hard look. This is the hard view. So as teachers, when you look at this level, it shows the 5 domains, which shows the end of year expectations, which is the harder view, but it's the one I like to look at because it really means we're doing some great work and we're helping to bring, if you look at look at the vocabulary bar there at the bottom chart and look at how much larger it is at the top. So it's showing that our teachers are working to engage our students in improving those vocabulary skills and it's making some great success.
Is this the whole 5, 6, 7,
That's
8?
the whole 5, 6, 7, 8.
And you have to remember that there are special ed students in
Correct.
these numbers that affect some of the red that they're not working
Correct,
at,
but
or even close to grade level.
But even there, we're seeing those numbers are decreasing. So if you look at our red stripes, even there, we're working on moving those kids forward, which is great. So which is awesome in my opinion. And when you take a look at the bottom, it's our math domains as well. It's a little more difficult to look at this data because it's not as pretty as the reading. But I think, talking about those gaps, you're seeing that they are closing. You're seeing those red bars are smaller and those green bars are larger, and that's what we're working towards. So taking a look at the numbers and operations and seeing look at the size of the green stripe bar in the top versus the bottom. Some significant growth towards grade level. We had some students who made 400% growth from their fall score. And that's what we want. We're looking to make up. Yeah, we celebrate it. We cheer. I have my chocolate drawer. Don't say I shared chocolate. It doesn't mean with the healthy standards. But kids that came in and had that 400% growth came in and got a ridiculous cheer celebration, made a big scene, and they loved it. So it was really a great thing and something our teachers are proud of, our students are proud of, and we want to celebrate that growth.
But Ms. Grit, I still believe that children aren't reading as much books and a lot more computers, and their vocabulary is diminishing as they get older. Because when I was in middle school, that's all we had to do was read, and it's across the board.
I agree with that. That's something our teachers are noticing, and that's something that, as part of our data dive and part of our conversations, we're focusing in on that specifically as a challenge. And so some of the vocabulary, for example, 7th grade is using, they're sharing across the curriculum. So they're sharing and saying, you know what, we're working on this root word and we're going to share that whether you're in math or social studies or science or language arts, it's being shared everywhere. So they're hearing that common vocabulary and it's helping to build and improve.
Data. And I know my son chose as one of his best blocks a book club, which he hadn't picked up a book in I can't tell you how long.
Yeah.
And he's reading again. It was a good choice for a book. It was a high interest book. He got into it. He's continuing the series and, he's reading again, which is great. So I think the more that we can kind of celebrate that too, and bring back the literature.
Well, I think one of the interesting things that we've had as part of BEST, I know Mr. Selzen in October had an anime club and they were reading anime books. And for some of our students, anime is the end all be all. And it was a high interest area.
Yeah.
But they're still reading.
Yep.
Right. So that's kind of what we're working towards.
Yeah, it's great.
Do parents have access to this data for their specific
So
student?
their specific student, you should have received that data from your team of teachers. If you haven't yet, please reach out and let us know because we can definitely get a copy for you of your individual student data. I know that teachers have conferenced with students over the progress. As I said, we celebrated those huge changes, and the kids were able to see their growth. There's little on their individual report. There's dots that show kind of where they started the year and where they are. And as I said in Hudson, I say now, a step forward is a step forward. No matter how slow the pace, it's still a step in the right direction. So we're working on making sure that everybody is taking those steps forward.
Was it sent home as a printout, or is
It
it?
should have been, yes.
Very colorful.
I don't think it was in color because we don't have a color.
Well,
copy.
that's what I'm gonna. I have two. I'm gonna go check both backpacks.
Oh, I haven't seen either. So
It's
I'm over two.
Unfortunately, with the way that the document prints, we would have to run an individual report for all 400 or.
Oh, I have
300.
full confidence it's in their backpacks. I just need to go search them.
Let me know if you don't find it there, and anybody at home watching that's looking for their child's iReady report, we can happily send that along.
I have a question. iReady, is that also for science and social studies?
It is
or no?
not. So iReady focuses in on math and reading skills. It's a nationally normed test. So it does really help us reflect on where we're performing against students across the country. So it's not just Litchfield in this isolated moment. It's taking a look at how we are performing across the board. So
I think it would be great for someone looking at our schools, potentially moving to Litchfield and to check out our schools, to have this kind of data on our website. I don't know if that's a kosher thing to do, but how do we rank, just looking at how many of our students are proficient? I think that's a
scorecard of sorts.
Yeah.
Sure, we can put the middle school, just don't put the AP courses from the high school.
Well,
The one thing to point out, the middle school staff has done a
Let's speak the
fabulous
truth.
job embracing this tool.
Mm-hmm.
They really have bought into this, and you're seeing that in those results,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and remember, we're literally 6 months into it, right? So I think there's a lot more potential as we continue to
Oh,
refine it and
absolutely.
figure it out.
Yeah.
You'll also notice when you look at the categories, they're aligned with statewide testing.
Right.
This is not and here's one more thing to do.
Yeah.
If you're doing this and doing it well, it should produce the results on the statewide test, which is being reported on,
True.
Niche and those other,
Right.
data grabbing websites. So, so I feel like we're in the right ballpark and heading in
Yeah.
the right direction. So
We just don't have those results for this year yet.
that's correct. But I think the dividends will be on the SAS
Mm-hmm.
and those results, which then will be reported. So we're lining up very nicely at LMS.
So I think you're leading right to my next point is our data diving in iReady really provides, this is just a toe dip. There's probably 75 pages of reports that you can get and aggregate and differentiate and pull in information, which we've spent a lot of time with our teachers. For those of you that didn't know, I piloted iReady when it was a program in its infancy as a teacher, and I have utilized it throughout its whole lifespan. So I have a lot of knowledge in regards to iReady, and we've been working with that with our teachers and finding those reports that are specific. And there's a teacher toolbox that will allow, I can look specifically at Liz McDonald as my student and say, here's where Liz is performing. Here's what she needs to get better in this area. And it allows us to go even further.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it's really specific. So that next point is about our data diving has really helped us to differentiate specifically. Oops, sorry, file does not exist. We're working on fixing those. Probably the same thing. I just have to share. So we have the next section is about our weekly newsletter. It was news and notes. It's now links in the loop and has been shared weekly with parents, staff, district admin, board members, and also has been posted to our website with weekly archives to see if you've missed any.
Love
that's
that.
where you can find them. And trying to keep it, sorry, Bill, it's not meant, is he still here?
No.
Okay. Keep it short because I know people have a lot on their plate. So no time to read a lengthy document to keep it. And I also am big to share pictures of kids and staff whenever possible. So I haven't figured out Dan's method yet, but it's a growth process.
Is there a sports page on your homepage, like a calendar or something?
There, we have a shared building calendar, which shares all of our upcoming events
So
on our
it's
All in one.
all in one.
all in one.
Oh.
So we have a school calendar that shares.
If there's a volleyball game, I don't think some parents know that. Like, I didn't know that either.
So if you look on our website, at the bottom of our website, it shows you right there where we are. So
Awesome.
what we have going on, for example, our music has programs coming up next week and the week after. Lots of exciting things there to find.
Thank you.
Our recognition of work study practices. We've prepared certificates recognizing students who have demonstrated the ability to earn a 3 or above on work study practices. We'll celebrate it at the end of the first semester, and we'll again celebrate at the end of the year. And this is kind of trying to re-energize the students to understand how important those work study practices are. In fact, they're probably, and I hate to say this, equally as important as the academics, because if you're learning how to behave and follow directions and show respect and take responsibility and all the things we speak about in our work study practices, those are the things that are going to make you college and career ready and going to go to the portrait of a learner and portrait of a graduate as you're moving forward. So we're trying to really boost that up in students' minds. So instead of focusing on honor roll, the grade and what you earned, it's about that work study practice as a place to celebrate.
I'm not going to say anything.
Update our mission, vision, and values. Not yet. I have 5 months under my belt. It's something to continue to work towards. And we've started to have some conversations about, is there something we need to change or look towards for next school year?
Cool.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Not,
Yes.
Well, not on the academic side of it, but just something I was just thinking of because you're talking about links. Is
Which kind of links? The furry kind or the
Yeah, that's what I
LINK?
was thinking. LYNX or LINKS?
links?
Okay. Like,
Yeah. Has been any thought given to like painting that on the gym wall since we've gotten rid of the blue Indian?
There is, but it's going to depend on what happens with construction. We have a lot of ideas of how we can get that links in a lot of
Because that'd be a great
places.
sophomore project or
Absolutely.
for the high school?
yeah.
Absolutely.
I think if there's a high school student who's interested, they should reach out to us, Grantham.
Yeah.
But I think
It's a
she's
great
on the
idea.
right track to hold off until the
Okay.
renovation project is done.
I'd hate
because
to ruin it.
The last thing
Right.
we do
No,
is-
absolutely. But it'd be nice if we can get
So
the mascot
we're
in there.
looking at finding ways to incorporate our mascot in a lot more places around the building, on the walls, and in other locations. But we want to wait and see how warrant Article 6, which we're hoping will be successful, plays out
Excellent.
tomorrow.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell.
You only have 5 minutes left.
Yep.
Sorry.
Don't take a bunch of time.
You don't have that much to talk about, right?
No, only 3 goals.
All right.
So thank you. We have basically 3 goals that we have been tackling this year. And to start off, the first goal, the way we worded and committed ourselves to it in the summer, it's actually a massive goal when you actually get down to the work. And it's really kind of in 2 parts. And so in the current progress, I broke it out into 2 parts. So first off is the PLC work, which was PLC kind of really got up and going at GMS and then kind of got shuttered by the pandemic. So we've started from scratch. And so the first thing you look at is you haven't really done a lot in the PLC. We actually have, but we are being very slow and deliberate and intentional. So for instance, an example of that is we did in fact take 2 months to come up with norms. Now this doesn't mean that collaborative teams and PLCs haven't been taking place. They have been, but we're kind of building the structures around the machine, if you will. So the teams had never really, I would say, done norms the correct way. So I come from a school of thought that norms start with kind of a self-evaluation every group, because you can just say, all right, for today, everyone come up with norms. And usually what you end up with is 3 to 5 statements of good manners or things that don't necessarily apply to the group. So you really have to go through that self-evaluation process of saying, what do we struggle with and do we need to set a norm with? So you can say everyone will be there in time. And you say, do you guys have an issue with punctuality? Well, no, we're already here in time. Well, then don't make a norm about it. It's something you're already good at. But if you're one that the grade level, you talk and you say, like, this is the 4th meeting we've had on the same exact subject. You haven't you need a norm about decision making, and so we went through that, and then they kind of came up with norms, and then really wanted to dig into purpose and then use of data and the structure. So the meetings are happening while the structure around it is also being built. I have to remind myself that we've set annual goals. So give myself the annuum to actually achieve them and kind of take it slow deliberately. In terms of the data and learning, at the same time, just like Jen was saying, we have iReady this year. So we've also been learning as doing. And the teachers have really, I think just as much as the middle school, have really taken to this. They've used it as an effective practice, not just the assessments that we gave fall, just recently winter, but also there's the pathways within. And so you can actually really individualize the students' learning based on their results. And so there are targeted activities and pathways that those students can participate in to actually, within the program, they will give them the activities that they need to work on to be successful and show growth. So they've actually taken that. I apologize. I don't have our results that middle school did. We did our mid-year. If you remember, about 4 or 5 board meetings ago, when you were looking at those attendance reports and thinking, wow, that's a lot of kids out at GMS. That's when we were giving the iReadies. So it literally took until last week to make up all of, unfortunately, the structure of it. We really needed to then take advantage of the day that our building sub, Mrs. Dyer, could be freed up. And she was just cranked through the machine. We did get them all done, but it took us right till February vacation until they were all
I did 400.
complete.
It's not fun because no one should be rushed through this test. They should work. If it takes them 3 days, it should take them 3 days.
Exactly. And but we also had kids who missed one session. You had kids who were out and they missed
both.
And then all of a sudden you're like, you have 3.5 hours of makeup, but it just took us the whole time, but we did get it. So that work continues, and I'm pleased of the progression in there. The second goal has to do with SEL and particularly our SSC, our student support committee. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to go back for the second part of that, which is the creating the process and discussing strategies around our CAT and SPED processes. That work is being done. To report there is kind of tricky because CAT and the referral process is not something that you can stop to kind of improve and go on.
Can you explain what CAT is?
Sure. It's basically the child concern team.
Okay, just all these acronyms. I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
yeah. So CAT
Sorry.
is child concern and assessment team,
Mhm.
or child.
Is it CHAT or CAT?
It's CAT.
And it's CHAT at the high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically a child concern team. And so Maura has really been taking the lead on that. And basically, as she's going, she's taking copious notes of kind of what's missing and improvements that we want to see. So already kind of on the draft. And you have to roll this out kind of at the beginning of next year. You can't really make the changes when the process is going. One thing that we're missing is kind of the historical aspect. So a grade level teacher will come and they have concerns about the child, but there isn't the deliberateness in the process to say, have you talked to last year's teacher? How long are these concerns? Do a full follow review. So we really need to just kind of strengthen up those things. So we're kind of making those notes so that when we create the form and roll out the process for next year, everything that we've kind of been taking note of this year will then be in that.
Did they discuss those in PLCs?
In terms of
students that are concerned?
Specific students?
Yeah, if they're all in this. Oh, well, I guess they're. I was just thinking of middle school model, but you can't. It's just one student.
Are they now? No.
Yeah.
Will they eventually? If my vision and going back to the first goal of how PLCs operate.
Yeah.
Yeah, the structure will be there that the team can look at the data as a team and say, my class, missed the boat on this. Let's talk about that. What I
Awesome.
missed. It wouldn't, I don't think, get down to the specific student, but more kind of that group of cohorts of, all right, let's talk about this group because I missed something that you all did. Or on the flip side is, hey, I really nailed it.
What did
any
you
questions?
do different? Yeah.
Yes.
I think
And
that's awesome.
that's how they
It'll
should
come
operate.
along with the iReady test. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But right now the CAP process is working well for, I have these students' concerns. But we I think we want to make improvements on both ends of that presentation. One is, what does the history tell us? And on the other end is having the teachers be explicit about what their reasoning for, what their hopes are to bring that child to CAP. You know, there are certain students where they need ideas, they need interventions. There are certain cases where the teacher's intention would be, I need to start a paper trail. You know, this is going to be something. And so being explicit about that up front so that the team knows exactly which direction they want to go. Social emotional learning and SEL skills. Our student concern team, student support team or student support committee, SSC or SST, met over the summer. And basically what came down is that we needed to do a recommitment to our already established PAUSE program, which is the practice responsibility, act respectfully, work together, and stay safe. And so in addition to just kind of bringing this back, it's anchored in on our monthly whole school meetings. And so what we're going to do is go through these twice. And so we did PAUSE, and now we're at, because we have one this week, I think we're back to the P. So we're back to the second round of practice responsibility. And so there is the student council makes a skit. There's a classroom activity to follow up. And then also what we're doing is we are basing our student recognitions on these things. So each month it goes out and has the teachers nominate students who, for that month, acted particularly responsibly. And then we hand out these certificates and we celebrate basically following the PAUSE
I love
process.
that you're doing whole school meetings.
Yeah, and we're doing the whole school meetings. We've been doing them online with a video.
Yeah.
I don't know. We may get to all back into the gym before the end of the year. So we'll see how we go in that. But that is the hope.
Or outside on the Litchfield. You could do it.
Outside on yeah. It's built in stadium seating. We just put them right there on the front.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. And additionally, and you see the links in there. I also included the scope and sequence that Sandra McMullen made for the SET program, which laid out. And as you can see, she actually built it around a lot of those skills that you see in such things as the CASTLE framework. You also know, hold on, I have one more paper. I guess I didn't print it out. Yep. I'm with the visuals tonight. Jen Hayes, school counselor, when she charts out, and actually you could pass that around, you'll see that she charts out her monthly, when she goes into the classrooms to do the whole classroom activities, you'll see that it aligns both with the CASTLE and the ASA standards and kind of what she's intending to hit so that they can get that comprehensive. But she goes through.
Impressive.
Just like us through. In addition to that, more on the individual small group students, we also administer the DESA, which we did in the fall. We're actually currently administering the DESA now. And one thing that's becoming apparent that we're working on creating that's outside of these goals, but another way of addressing it is through the DESA, through kind of, I will say, coming out of the pandemic, and it's been said before, and it's been said now, is that the students just really struggle with human interpersonal connections. And so we are coming up with ways that we can actually address that in a kind of a shared format. And how can we build up connections and so that it doesn't just follow on the classroom teacher? In fact, a lot of studies show that the more connections that student has to the school, the better they're going to be. So we're working on kind of creating a students connection club. So adults volunteering to just build that relationship. And I may be reaching out to you because any person in the community who can make a connection with a kid is going to create a positive. So that's very developmental in there, but that kind of goes along with that because that's really the need. We're seeing preliminarily coming in with the mid-year DESAs that are coming in, is that whether it's coming out of the pandemic, masks coming out, I mean, you hear it and you see it and you experience it, is that there has been I don't know the right word, but the greatest need and by greatest, not in severity, just across the board, has been in those interpersonal skills. And not necessarily skills, it's more those opportunities for connection. So we need to create those. So that's kind of perhaps a preview of next year's goals. I don't know, but it's going to be some work that we're doing now. And the final goal, which has been the focus of we focus this in on our staff meetings. So we've switched to staff meetings this year. We still have the monthly, but I'm trying to go with the general feeling of if it can be sent in an email, I'm going to send it in an email. This is time, much like PLCs, it's the one time a month where we get together. So let's kind of use that for collaborative work. And so this is where the skills list has really come from. In August, we had them come up with the list of skills. They came up with 156. These are 156 things that we think all students should have before they leave GMS. 156 skills. So then after we looked through that whole list, the next question was, how many of these skills are essential to learning? And we set a very high bar for essential to learning. I'll give you an example. Tying your shoe is super convenient for the adults and really makes the flow of the day go a lot better. Can you get through life and still learn and not be able to tie your shoe? Yes.
Velcro.
You buy Velcro. So we set that up. When we did that, we limited it down to 82 of the skills. I think we can still maybe go a little bit further, but at some point you have to say, okay, for now, let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
The next task that the grade levels then did was take this list, still working at 156. We just separated out essential and non-essential. And tell me as a grade level, do you expect them to have this skill when you enter? Do you address this skill, or will they have this skill achieved by the time they leave your grade level? And then when you do all that, you end up with a spreadsheet that looks like this. So this is what the address skills look like. This is what your expected before looks like. And this is what it looks like that we achieve at the grade level. Now, this is very rough because I've actually had to go back to grade levels and say, you expect an awful lot, or you achieve an awful lot. We're still working. This is mid-process, but I want to show you this because this is really the goal. Something like this. I'll pass this around and come back to me. This puts next, side by side, what you expect and what is achieved. And the hope is, and as you'll see, you can't read it. I mean, to fit it on a page, I mean, it's tiny font. But what you're going to end up with, and you'll see it already, is you have grades 2 or 3 or 4. Expect these skills before, and you look to the left and you realize no one's addressed it.
Yeah.
It hasn't been mastered before we expect it. So the hope and the goal, and this is why it takes so much time, is to identify these skills. And then from there, you create the scope and sequence naturally because you say, we expect it. Is that reasonable? If it is reasonable, now we need to talk to those lower grade levels and say, if that's a reasonable expectation for them to have it at second grade, K and 1, which one of you is going to get this to this?
Can you just give an example of like what kinds of skills? Are we talking about I can read words? I can, just for the people at home. That
Oh,
can't see
sure.
the paper.
And those who can't see 2 points.
Log into the computer. Number sense. Unpack your bag. Sharing, taking turns. Lining up. Finding the classroom independently. Open your own snacks and milk. That's not essential, but it's essential for operations, not essential for learning.
Right.
Accountability, manners, sportsmanship, independence. This is just, I'm reading off the 156. Self-regulation, taking turns, holding a pencil correctly, scissors, gluing. And you'll notice that we broke them down too further by, we kind of chunked them into academic skills, behavioral skills, life skills, and organizational. And kind of classified them. So this is kind of I find the work fascinating, but it's long and it can be tedious, but eventually you get to that end result where we can say on both ends, by the time they leave GMS, these students will have these skills because we've taught them this way systematically. Or on the other end, we could be very transparent with our incoming kindergartners, and we can say, we're so happy to have your child come to us next year and enroll in our kindergarten. Just to let you know before they come here. We don't do this stuff, so we expect them to be able to do not a lot, obviously not a lot. But there are certain things we can at least be transparent and say, we're going to give your child a great education. We're not going to teach them how to open their milk, though. You could work with them at home. Or, they can say, what are these life skills that they're going to get while they're at GMS? And what are those life skills that I have as a parent we need to partner with? So that is the hope of the thing. But
I think that's great.
we just need to get it to a place where it's, first off, easier to read font-wise, and also easier to read
paper
quantity-wise.
That's great work.
So that's where we are at GMS.
Thank you. Well done. Any other questions for Mr. Mitchell before we leave? All right. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I had asked
Have a good
Ms.
evening.
Widman to come tonight also because obviously, it's work that she and I share the responsibility for directing and staying on track. Our goal is, I think the retreat we had last summer was helpful. Our goal is to stay with the retreat to really kind of energize the data teams, et cetera. So that's work that we need to continue to be on top of as we work our way through. And we'll report out to the board in August again. And I think if we hit an August, January, and, January, February is about the right time to be reporting mid-year. So probably February only because you're halfway through at the end of January. So you need time to get it pulled together.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that was very helpful. The goal
That was
updates.
terrific. That was terrific. I mean, it's the first time I've seen anything like this be done in 3 years. So it's fabulous. And I would echo that. I also think the school board retreat was extremely helpful too.
Agreed.
We have to start that planning, don't we?
That's right.
We have to plan.
Yes, we do.
When's the next one?
We'll let you know.
We
All
have
right.
to plan.
All right. Start planning. Okay, that brings us to the BA's report.
All right. So a couple of updates out of the emergency management team. Obviously, with the event that happened on December 17th, we identified some things that need some improvement. The first step is looking into radios where we'd be able to have those lines of communication where the cell service isn't great in Litchfield. So through the emergency management team, we whittled down to, I think, but supplementing our system with 24 new radios that will go onto the town's new system. So it will give us the ability to have communication within the school, also across district, and it will be in the hands of people that would be involved in incident command. So I got a quote from John Brunel with the town. I received it today. I identified the funds and moved them into the district-wide emergency management account. And he's going to go ahead with the ordering, and he'll do all the programming and then teach us how to use these. So we'll start with the 24, and then we can look at expanding the radios that we have, because there's a lot of capability with the system that John has with the town. We also have reached out to 3 companies at this point for quotes on a mass notification system that we'd be able to have an app, a desktop, the blue light system outside the buildings to warn people not to enter the building. So at this point, I've received one quote. There was a walkthrough by a second company the other day over vacation. And then there's one more company we need to reach out to just to see where the quotes are in terms of getting that system installed. There also could be some Homeland Security grant opportunities for at least the notification system, but they did mention, I think it was Tom Scotty who mentioned that if you do it as a package, you might be able to do everything all encompassing.
So why
Include the
wouldn't we
radios.
use the current system that we have of sending out text. Is this, I mean,
This would be the mass unification would go to staff only.
okay.
It would be staff only. It's really for, that sensitive information that needs to get out to staff before it
Okay.
blows up in public.
And we don't have anything like that right now? Where?
So if you remember, we're dependent on the web. So
Yeah.
trying to get messages out through Power School and School Messenger. Sorry, I'm losing track of the name of the software, but it became a problem because I spent over a half an hour unable to send a message. And
Right.
so these systems are better integrated and, we learned a lot of things about how to best communicate, but the point of this is that if somebody pulls the blue light alarm, say, there's an intruder in the building, they hit the blue light panic button, that can immediately take care of a lot of things. It could lock doors in the middle, so you could shut all the fire doors and lock them. You could send a notice out to every single teacher's desktop that says, here's what's going on. This is why the information came out. So it would just allow a different level of communication than we have with School Messenger.
And they work with the IT department to leverage our existing infrastructure.
Right.
So on our servers and all that stuff. So they would work closely with Chris to implement a system that works best for Litchfield.
Okay.
And it also helps because there have been times when staff have walked in on
Mhm.
lockdown.
I have done it. I've dropped my kid off.
So
during
we
the
need
lockdown.
we need
Yeah.
something so that we
Yeah.
can say, oh
Need
my
that
God, we
visual.
can't enter that
Right.
building.
Visibly,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully in the coming weeks, we'll have an idea what that's going to look like. And it would just be a continuation of funding security upgrades like we've done over the past several years with the vestibules, with the expanding the surveillance that we have in the building. So logical next step to work towards. Mike and myself last Monday went to the selectmen's meeting to talk to them about impact fees, and they did approve expanding the use of the CHS impact fees to include the lighting project that we're in right now, which now they authorize up to $315,000 out of the CHS impact fees, which will easily have us finish the CHS lighting project without having to raise any more money or take any money out of our operating budget. So we did sign the contract with EMC. They will be starting that project on second shift here pretty soon. So that lighting conversion will take place. And that will supplement the impact fees, will supplement the $80,000 that we got from the state of New Hampshire.
Okay.
Yep. That's what I have for tonight, unless anyone has any questions for me.
If I could just interject. So while we were at the select board, they had an item on the agenda that we had asked for information on their health insurance so that we could do a fair comparison, because we keep getting asked to try to drive toward the type of contribution rates that the town has. And so Michelle had reached out to Troy to say, well, we need to know exactly what are your rates. So we're in the process of trying to compare.
We were told 80-20.
Well, 80-20 of what is the
Right.
question. So,
Okay.
we're on a consumer driven plan with deductibles, and our rates are set by the pool that we're in. And so the question was, how much does an employee pay for a family plan on the town side? We just don't even know.
And how much does the town pay?
How much does the town pay? How much does the family pay? And then what do you get for that?
Right.
Because right now we're being asked to try to achieve a goal, but I'm not sure that we really are comparing apples to apples. So, and so that led to a discussion. If you hear about it, I mean, it did lead to a back and forth discussion about compensation and just general things. And so just be aware that that conversation did take place last Monday. But, it's all fair. It's all public record stuff. There's nothing hidden. But I just think, we want to make sure that if we're being asked to do something, we know exactly what that looks like.
Okay.
Are we being asked from, we're not being asked from the town side, it's the
Budget
budget
committee.
Budget committee, yeah.
I was told by Carrie Douglas said to me, and I think Brian, you were there. Tina, were
was
you
there.
there? So this is when they were voting on the CBA, and she said, this is the last time I vote for an agreement that doesn't move us closer to the 80%. And I'm like, okay, except.
Yeah.
Except 80% is of what number? I mean, we keep hearing about this, but how
Right.
does that really compare? We just don't know.
Right.
So we need to get it all together in one spot.
Are there any districts that do 80%?
School districts, no.
I didn't
We,
think so.
we have on the school care plan
Mhm.
and on the yellow plan that we have the highest employee contribution of any district around us.
I don't
So-
pay as much as Litchfield.
So
Yeah.
it's relatively, we're already on the
We're probably in the 80-20
saving
plan
money
already.
for the
Yeah.
taxpayer side of this.
Right.
And to drive it from the 87 down to 80 is only going to shift that balance further. And it will, in my opinion, make us uncompetitive.
Absolutely.
But let's see what 80% of that plan is so that we
Right.
understand it before we go much deeper into it. So
I think just pulling out just our cohort numbers too, like if most of them are on our, like the same plan as us, I'm just curious what their numbers are in comparison.
How many people are?
No, just our whole cohort group that we compare ourselves to. What are they paying?
yeah, and again, if they're on school
different
care
plan,
yellow, it's
right.
easy.
Mhm.
But if they're on health trust,
Right.
Blue Shield, 100%,
Right.
something or other, so if you quickly get into what are we comparing to here? So, but anyway, we can try to do that with the cohort.
And the 80-20 is kind of like out the window these days. It's more like 70-30. Private sector.
Really.
Yeah, I think she's comparing to the police department specifically. Police contract was 80-20, and when are we going to get there? But we switched to the yellow plan, like you said. So I think it's good to get a reliable comparison.
Yep.
Thank you for doing that.
I didn't hear about it happening this time, but I remember the last go around with the contract that came up. So I wasn't sure where that.
Yeah, I think was it after the budget hearing or during a meeting? I'm trying to remember.
This year,
After.
Yeah.
it was after the budget hearing.
Yeah.
They then voted on the CBA.
Right.
Remember, they had the
Yep.
meeting on the floor of the auditorium. And you're right, the last time around, but we had made the switch from green to yellow.
Right.
And we're like, well, this is going to drive a whole shift in the way insurance. I
Yeah.
mean, it's actually produced. We haven't had the double-digit increases in healthcare, right? So I was at my own school district's annual meeting Friday night, and they were given a guaranteed max of 12.9, I think. And I said, wow, that's tough to swallow.
Yeah.
12.9 guarantee, because our guarantee was
8.
what was it, eight or something?
Yeah.
I think it came in less even. So.
And that's after 2 years of having a holiday where we didn't have
They
an
had us
increase.
go. I think they had us budget for 10, and
Mhm.
it came in at 6.5,
Yeah.
something like that.
So,
That's something to be happy about, huh? Guaranteed only 12.9%.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, the other thing is that guarantee at this time of year, it's like, is
Yeah.
that the final number? Because I would think it would be final by now, but anyway,
You would hope so.
Okay.
I asked enough questions. I didn't want to ask that one.
Anything else for Corey? All right. Old business. Our dear old friends.
Yeah. So we
Situation.
continue to meet on Thursday. This is the spreadsheet for the month of February. You can see that on the summary sheet, we did hit school impact of mediums, mainly because attendance rates had trickled up. But overall, the county and the local numbers continue to be substantial. But if you follow the trend, they're dropping. They're all headed in the right direction. So things are looking up, and we'll get an update again this week. I did not do it on vacation week. GMS, if you look at their chart, you can see that things, again, it hit that medium. I mean, attendance was up. Remember, that's the Massachusetts vacation week. I don't know if we have more parents who are off that week and may have pulled some kiddos. LMS numbers continue to be strong. And the CHS numbers were pretty decent too. So I think we're all headed in the right direction. I look forward to not having spreadsheets to report at some point in the future. But I think carrying this through the year so that we have an annual record of where we are and taking time here to reflect on it makes sense. I did send a notice to parents yesterday about the federal mandate for masks on buses being lifted. Buses were the one area we continue to struggle with because students knew they were coming to school where they didn't have to wear the mask, but had to have it on. And enforcement of masks on buses after we lifted it was a little bit problematic. So I wanted to make sure the parents knew. And
Mhm.
I think individual kiddos still have the responsibility and the option to wear the mask if that's what they choose to do.
I think one thing that's really promising about these numbers, I mean, we're in really good shape right now, and the warm weather is right around the corner.
Right.
Yep.
So there'll be more windows open, more air, more time outdoors, and
Yeah.
Do you think it'd be helpful for continuing to track it through the rest of the school year, if only to have the data to look back at next year as we're making decisions in terms of, we may not start with
The next
masks,
strain.
we may not, right, well, hopefully, but if,
For the numbers and when.
but where's the point where we may need to pivot or, do something different? So hopefully we don't have to, but, we'll see.
That's good. Anything else on that?
Good on that one.
All right. So we have policy BEDH, public participating at school board meetings, coming back for second reading.
I make a motion to accept BEDH.
I'll second.
Can I suggest an edit?
No.
We had those two people, like the 3 students that came here and talked about the graduation announcement. If they were here next, when we approve this, they're gonna have to sit through half the meeting and then wait. And I just, that really made me think that, why are we forcing people to stick to the agenda for the first comment period? Because most people come to the first comment period.
I think it's just something they'll have to get accustomed to.
They would just
Because
come later in the
that,
meeting.
though? I
then.
mean, is
it's
there
board,
really
it's
a
board,
need?
it's because it's board business first.
I understand, but we do want public input, and we don't get a lot of it. I think that's one of the reasons why we've kept that phone line open, even though nobody shows up, To me, I don't feel like that part of it is necessary, that we need to have it just sticking to the agenda. So I don't know.
But if you don't, sometimes you can run into like we did with CRT. So it takes up an exorbitant amount of time where we're trying to conduct business, rather than let us conduct our business. Then if there's time afterwards for
That's
commentation.
true. Yeah.
That's kind of how I saw it too,
There are a couple of bills in the House that are looking to change the format of that. But until they pass, I think this is better aligned with current expectations of how a board meeting in the public. So it's not a public
It's not a
meeting.
meeting of the public with the board.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, I understand that, but I just also, I don't know. I just thought they were a perfect example, because we would have to say, sorry, you can't do that.
And I think when, the CRT, go back to the summer, when we hosted the public forum and engage all, because the other problem is that you have a group that comes with an agenda item, but it's not balanced because groups with opposite points of view don't know that that's happening. So all of a
Right.
sudden
Right.
you get the feeling like, oh, this is how everybody feels. Well, when you have the forum and you invite everybody, you really get a balanced conversation taking place. And it also allows the board to discuss it and say, well, where are we with this? What's our stance on it? Versus, if you're reacting without really having a board stance. So,
Well, they still would be able to come to the second portion to do that too.
Well, they also
You know what I mean?
have a week or two to get that request to the superintendent or the chair to be on the agenda before the
Right.
agenda comes out.
Right.
So there is an opportunity for them to plan that to be on the agenda, during that first session.
Right. Right.
I think part of what the public's looking for is the engagement piece, which I think we can, have more roundtable
Yeah.
coffee talks and, so forth.
Outside of our meetings.
Outside of the
at
meeting,
other
but when you sit
times.
down to do the meeting, that's the meeting. We've got work to do.
So we can't have more than 3 people, board members there at a time.
You can if you post it, right? So there's no limitation on it as long as you post it and you let people know that you're there.
There's a huge outcry for that, I think,
I think so
and we
too.
need to address it.
But I think the idea that this is what the topic is, or anybody's invited. You look at a PTO meeting, you look at a a coffee with the principal at the high school, anybody can show up, right? Versus one group with one agenda
Right.
and making it seem as if that's the only feeling on it when we know that it's not.
And the other thing for having an agenda and following agenda is the board does not like to be surprised or put on the spot.
Wait, Mr., do we have a
Same goes
second?
with the
Do we have a
public.
second on the motion?
Yes.
You did. Thank you.
Yes, there was. So you don't want the same thing to happen. If you don't want us to surprise you, which is fully understandable, I wouldn't want to be put on the spot with community members either if I didn't have the answer to those questions or had some preparation for it.
Well, we're not required to answer to community input.
No, but it usually
Respond
happens.
to it.
I mean, I see what you're saying because I want us to be the optics. I understand could be considered to be us trying to limit community input, but I think the goal is for these particular meetings to get through the agenda and then open it up to the public.
Yeah.
I do think we should consider quarterly community forums.
I do too.
I
You know,
agree.
not necessarily monthly, but maybe quarterly community forums where people can write in and have either we predetermine what the topic is or open floor, come in and
Yeah.
we can engage in some dialogue because I never want people to feel like they're not being heard and that they don't have a chance to at least speak their mind. It doesn't mean we're going to agree. Doesn't mean we're going to do anything about it, but it means that they're being heard. And
I agree
so I think the
wholeheartedly.
time and place, you know, if we're doing this in order to be able to get through our agenda, I mean, I don't know that people realize, you know, these meetings are 3 to 4 hours every other week, essentially. It's a lot of
I
time.
wish there were 3.
Plus non-public.
I know.
Plus
Wish
not
that
public,
they're-
which,
yeah,
you know,
that's
and I don't know that
4
people
hours minimum.
realize that, you know,
Right.
some people you turn off the TV and you go about your evening, which is great. But I think there is business that needs to get done during these meetings, getting that done up front and then being able to focus on the other issues and or having a separate forum for that will allow people to have that input. And I'm happy to go to those. I'm happy to, you know, attend those as needed. So
And that might be a good board goal moving forward.
yeah.
I know. I like that idea and I hear what you're saying, but to me, you know, I don't think it happens and I don't think we rarely get excessive community input. I mean, I guess that's
We'd
where
rarely
I'm
get
at.
community input.
What?
We rarely get community
Any
input.
community.
I know.
input. And then I
We
understand
really-
what you're saying.
so
But that
I
being
don't
said,
know.
like tonight, I'll point to that was a good example of I'd like some time to investigate, and I didn't want to put anyone on the spot, but were those 2 out of the 90 out of the 92 say just weren't here that day? Or do they have a reason why they didn't want to speak up and say we didn't hear anything about that? And so
There is an answer to that.
Yeah.
and I'm sure there is. And so that's where I don't want to get into a debate or put anybody on the spot with that. But at the same time, I want to engage them. But I felt like I wasn't ready to vote on that issue until I've had that conversation, which is why, you know, being surprised with it at the beginning and engaged, I feel like the surprise aspect is what concerned me a little bit. Not surprised, like I'm happy to hear and I want students to come talk to us.
Just we're
So
prepared to make a decision on this.
I'm not ready to like decide right now.
You know, another example, I'll just go back to the surprise. So I think this whole thing is to stop surprises and to not have the board reacting to somebody who comes in and lays something out that you don't know is coming. So go back to the meeting in the auditorium a year and a half ago, right before the pandemic, when all of a sudden, you know, it was the grading and reporting stuff. And there were things being said about Mary and I that were like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, there's a process here that's in place. This is not a take it to the public and take it to the board and take it to the TV opportunity.
Yeah.
And
that
so-
derailed that meeting.
Oh, it totally derailed that meeting and it damaged relationships. And, you know, that's not the way we should be conducting business. And I think I've been very transparent and open with the board and sharing information with you, but for crying out loud, let's follow the right processes and not jump 6 levels up with something. And so that's partly what this is intended to also do,
Makes more sense. Yeah.
you know, from the public participation point. If
And
you're
to solve the problem in the most efficient ways possible. Because we're, coming to the school board, if you haven't gone to the teacher and the
Absolutely.
principal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I think the form.
I
is
know.
the-
I was struggling with that.
I think the form is the
thinking-
right way. I really do. I mean,
Yes.
you
If
know-
as long as we have alternate opportunities, and I don't know if that call-in is still the right thing to have, but
you'll
but
be
I
regretting
do
it when
wanna-
some guy is playing the recorder at you. And
I know. No, I still want to keep that open because that will actually, that's,
They get 2
to
weeks
be
of
able
practice.
to have that available for the second period. If somebody could have come at the beginning, but they couldn't come the second time, at least they have that opportunity to call in.
When I first started, community input was at the end of the meeting and did not get changed to be at both beginning and end until 2009, I believe, or 10. So they had historically gone all that time with one 15-minute input at the end of the meeting. We used to get a lot of people that came, but again, they would want interaction with the board, and the board tried to explain
Been
that
late too because
it was
we even
it was
moved up
very
the
late.
school board meeting, so we weren't ending at 11.
It was very late. Those were the days when we went till midnight, 1 o'clock.
Oh.
So Tara, did you want to propose an amendment, or do you want to? How do you want to proceed?
No, I just wanted to have more discussion about it. I think if we have those alternate, I think I'm okay with it. If we have those alternate, if we have other ways that people can express themselves as well.
If I'm reelected, we'd be happy to make more of those happen. And I like the coffee with school board members, or just come and chat.
Yeah.
If I'm not reelected, it's all you. All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All right. All in favor of approving policy BEDH as a second reading, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? 500. That brings us to the manifest. Any questions? No? All right. I'll reopen public input for the second
Check
session
the
of the
phone.
evening.
Call in, people.
Mm-hmm. All right. Mike is there. Nobody's playing the recorder.
I wish Oscar would throw that up on the TV if he just once.
Will I be up there? Because I won't be here next week. I'm
Throw
going
what
to
up?
call in.
Just Mike on the TV by himself.
You can Google Meet him.
yeah, we'll probably have you not in the public one, but on the,
Google Meet.
yeah, because otherwise this would be open. People could just
Where are you going?
bomb
Well,
into the
we'll
meeting.
have you on a,
So what, next
the
meeting?
one we post for
Yeah.
members, yeah.
Tuesday, I
Okay.
was going Wednesday.
Thank you.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
With that, I will say goodnight to our viewers at home and go move into non-public session according to RSA
Slow.
91-A:311, parentheses A through C, concerning A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him, unless the employee affected, 1, has a right to a meeting, and 2, requests that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. B, the hiring of any person as a public employee. C, matters which, if discussed in public, would likely adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of the body or agency itself, unless such person requests an open meeting. Brian?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so that will bring us to non-public. Thank you.